I really can't keep going like this. Every night, the girl would run to the freezing space beneath the bridge, stations, and sleep there. Then she would claw at the snow-covered ground with her bare hands, until her hands turned bright red from the cold and began to bleed. Only then would she finally seem satisfied, curling up beside your frozen corpse and falling asleep. But you didn't even know this girl, yet every time she lay beside you, her hands covered in blood. An inexplicable ache would rise in your heart. Ethan, maybe you don't remember me anymore. I'm Mia, your little bean sprout. I came to be with you. But her smile was heartbreakingly beautiful. Little bean sprout. How could it be her? In my memories, she had been a quiet, fragile girl. During our senior year of high school, she transferred into my class and became my deskmate. She was so thin, she looked like a bean sprout, as if a strong gust of wind could blow her away. But that same timid, fragile girl had once been stripped naked by bullies and left trembling in the corner. The jacket I'd casually tossed to her that day had somehow been kept all these years. She liked me, Ethan. In our next life, promise you'll meet me sooner. The girl closed her eyes and leaned forward. Tears slipped from the corners of her eyes. The moment I realized what she was about to do, I rushed toward her like a madman, trying desperately to catch her as she fell. No, Mia. No. Why? But my hands passed straight through her body, and she plunged into the river below. In our next life, I want to be your wife, okay? No, Mia. No, I jolted awake, my face covered in tears as I stared around me. Ethan, get your ass out here. Have you ever looked at yourself in a mirror? What makes you think you're good enough to pursue Chloe? Ethan, there's no way we can be together. We need to focus on studying right now, not dating. That was Chloe's voice. How is that possible? I'd chased that stunning campus beauty for 8 whole years. In my previous life, I watched her go to a hotel with a man she'd known for less than 2 weeks. Later, I trusted the wrong people, and one of my high school classmates swindled me out of everything I owned. Dad couldn't afford his medical treatment either, and died in pain while I drowned in guilt. As for me, I was betrayed at the peak of my career, and thrown beneath a bridge like a dead dog. I froze to death there, on a morning when huge snowflakes filled the sky. Ethan, did seeing the campus beauty get you so excited you're crying? A chubby guy leaned over, his round face full of teasing amusement. It was Ryan, my best friend from high school. This guy had later been hacked to death in the street because of me. If he hadn't died protecting me, I might never have ended up murdered and dumped beneath that bridge. In my previous life, Chloe rejected my confession 99 times, until I finally saw an intimate video of her sent by another man. For a woman who never loved me, I'd thrown away my entire future, and even caused the dad who had always spoiled me rotten to die because we couldn't afford his treatment. I was a damn monster. Hey, are you even listening to me? Before Chloe could finish speaking, I snatched the flowers from her hands and pushed her aside, then walked straight up to our grade supervisor, Grace, and handed them to her. I know I'm handsome, tall, charming, and ridiculously good-looking, smooth and irresistible, loved by everyone who sees me, with flowers practically blooming wherever I go. But I'm just a legend, so don't get obsessed with me. I appreciate your feelings, but there's no future for us. We should focus on our studies. As for the flowers you gave me, I'll pass them along to Ms. Grace. Weren't those flowers for me? Since when did I give them to you? Besides, I came here to return them, not confess to you. Chloe looked completely dumbfounded. At that moment, she felt as though she'd suffered the greatest injustice in the world. Mist gathered in her bright eyes. Grace hurriedly accepted the bouquet, though her expression was strange too. Everyone in school knew Ethan had been pursuing campus beauty, Chloe. It was practically common knowledge. I appreciate the thought. Just focus on your studies from now on, and stop causing trouble. Chloe ran away with tears in her voice. Her girlfriends quickly chased after her. Then I noticed a pale, painfully thin girl standing beside Grace. Her eyes were filled with fear. Mia, my heart jolted, and I immediately grabbed the girl's arm. Haha, Miss Grace. She's the new student, right? I've still got an empty seat beside me. Why not let her be my deskmate? The girl jumped in fright and tried to retreat, but my grip was too strong, so all she could do was stare at me fearfully. I pulled Mia toward the last row, completely ignoring everyone staring at us. Mia nervously shrank into the corner of the desk, not daring to look at me. This guy doesn't look like a good person at all. I should stay as far away from him as possible. Looking at Mia, who resembled a frightened little lamb, I realized she was way too timid. No, I had to help her become more cheerful, and with that pale, skinny appearance, she was obviously malnourished. I needed to make sure this little girl ate properly. Still, 18-year-old Mia really was adorable. Grace was going over our monthly exam. I hurriedly dug through my garbage dump of a desk and pulled out a crumpled English test paper, placing it between the two of us. Seeing all the red X's on it, I felt my face heat up. There was less than a year left, and I had no idea whether I could still bring my grades up, if I could score a little better. I'd definitely make a better impression on Mia, but I soon realized I'd been overthinking it. The girl didn't think less of me because of all those red X's on my paper. Instead, she quietly began explaining my mistakes. This one should be A, because the question asks you to infer from the passage. What will most likely happen next? My eyes lit up. Mia was so kind. I liked her so much. But I quickly realized something else. I seemed to have evolved. The things I could never understand or remember before now made sense after hearing them only once. And my mind felt unbelievably clear. Was this some kind of special ability I'd gained after being reborn? I hurriedly pointed at my other wrong answers and asked the 18-year-old girl to explain them too. The girl's delicate brows furrowed slightly. My new deskmate is obviously eager to learn. He doesn't seem anything like his appearance suggests. Did I misunderstand him? The smile on my face grew brighter and brighter. Harvard and MIT weren't just dreams anymore. Chloe, stop crying. Forget that bastard. What kind of person does that? How could he treat our Chloe like that? Several of her girlfriends crowded around Chloe, complaining nonstop. Chloe's eyes were red as she looked toward the classroom door. But the familiar figure she usually saw wasn't there. Normally, the second class ended. Ethan would already be standing outside the door, posing and trying to look cool. But today, the moment Mia sat down, I immediately leaned toward her with a smile. Mia, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm your deskmate. Ethan, so he's Ethan. What a beautiful name. Simple, yet unforgettable. Meeting him must be some kind of wonderful coincidence. Here's a little welcome gift for you. I handed the girl a piece of milk candy and a slice of bread. Thank you, but I can't take it. If you don't, I'll throw it away. I casually moved as if I really were about to toss them. All right then, Mia accepted the snacks. Her family was poor, and ever since she was little, her parents had taught her never to waste food. Hee. My little deskmate is amazing. You're seriously this good at studying. And you look so cute when you're concentrating. I really want to pinch your cheeks. I wonder what they'd feel like. I stared at her with a ridiculously doting smile. The girl looked up, caught my expression, and became a little frightened. What's wrong with you? You're way too skinny. There's barely any softness on your cheeks. I gently pinched Mia's little cheek. Ah! The girl's face instantly turned bright red. She hurriedly lowered her head, too afraid to look at me. My thoughts became a tangled mess. What is Ethan trying to do? The smile on my face grew even brighter. Oh, is my little deskmate this shy? Even your ears are red. Too cute. How did I never notice in my last life? Back then, I was too young to know how wonderful my deskmate was, and foolishly treated the campus beauty like some precious dream. Suddenly, the math teacher's furious roar startled me. Ethan, if you don't want to study, then at least stop interrupting Mia while she does. If you don't want to go to college, Mia certainly does. I looked up and saw the fire practically shooting from Mr. Dalton's eyes. I gave him an awkward smile. Sir, I was asking Mia about a problem. Do you think I'm blind and didn't see that? Was that your idea of asking a question? You were pinching that poor girl's cheek and calling it studying. I was too embarrassed to call you out on it, Teach. Mr. Dalton, he really was asking me questions just now. The girl's soft voice drifted out. My little deskmate was actually speaking up for me. She's too kind, way too kind. I'm gonna cry. In the classroom, the girl was sitting there alone, when her stomach let out a helpless growl. She touched her hungry belly, and darkness began closing in before her eyes. Her body had already been weak, and she never ate on time, so her low blood sugar hit all at once. Mia's little hands turned pale, and she struggled to keep herself from falling. She closed her eyes and forced herself to lie face down on the desk. 2 or 3 minutes later, She slowly opened her eyes again. Then, carefully, she took out all the little snacks Ethan had given her, tore open the wrapper. The smell of the bread was tempting. She nibbled at it in small bites, as if she were savoring the most exquisite delicacy in the world. The sweet taste of bread filled her mouth, and a trace of enjoyment appeared on her little face. This is my first time eating this kind of bread. One loaf costs more than $1. It's too expensive. She could never bring herself to buy such costly snacks. So this is bread. It's so delicious. So instead of going to lunch, you stayed here eating bread. Just look at how pathetic you are. It's only a $1 loaf of bread. And you're enjoying it like it's some luxury feast. Mia was startled by the sudden voice. She turned around and saw Madison standing in the doorway, her face full of mockery. She was wearing a pair of little leather shoes and a white dress. With her ponytail tied high, the girl's body trembled slightly, and even her lips began to shake. She knew this classmate had come to bully her. Back when those people used to bully her, they'd worn the same mocking expressions. She clutched the corner of her clothes tightly and didn't dare look at Madison. Just one more year. As long as I get through this and make it into college, no one will bully me anymore. I came here from the countryside, and my family can barely put food on the table. I can't cause trouble. I have to study hard. The educated elders in the village all said it. As long as I study and get into college, everything will be better. The disdain on Madison's face deepened. She walked lightly over to Mia and toyed with the girl's hair with one finger. Oh, so you're scared already. Suddenly, Madison grabbed Mia by the chin, her face full of smug arrogance. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. Mia didn't dare look at Madison and could only apologize in a tiny voice. But she honestly had no idea what she'd even done wrong. Now you know you were wrong. Too late. Madison shoved Mia's chin away, then grabbed the trash can beside her and dumped all the garbage over the girl's head. Trash of every kind spilled all over Mia, but she didn't dare resist. She could only lower her head and endure it in silence. Madison looked at Mia covered in garbage and burst into laughter. Trash really does belong with trash. This is just too perfect. Then another idea came to her. She dragged the trash can over to the sink and filled it with a full bucket of water. Ugly girl, it's freezing out. You just ate bread, so your mouth must be dry. Let me give you something to drink. Madison looked at the girl, now drenched from head to toe, and the sense of superiority in her heart grew even stronger. Someone like Mia deserved to be stomped into the dirt by her and forced to look up at her forever. Just as Madison was about to slap Mia across the face, her body lurched, and before she could turn around, a sharp pain hit her back. Her body slammed hard onto the floor. Mia, are you okay? I don't care about her. Madison, sprawled on the ground, looked stunned and furious, while I brushed the garbage off Mia. Ethan. Mia lifted her head. Her watery eyes were full of confusion and surprise. Why is he helping me? Isn't he supposed to be a bad student? He really seems worried about me. This feeling is so warm. Looking at Mia staring blankly at me, I was on the verge of tears. Mia, what happened to you? Don't scare me like that. I used my clothes to wipe the dirty water from the girl's face. I'm okay, the girl said weakly. You scared me to death. Don't ever do this again. My heart ached as I grabbed my school uniform jacket and a pair of track pants I usually wore for gym, then helped Mia out of the classroom. It's okay now, it's okay. You got me from now on. I supported Mia and tried to comfort her. I'm really okay. I'm used to it. As long as I can keep studying, that's already enough. The girl forced out a smile. This poor girl must have been bullied a lot over the years, but if only I'd noticed sooner in my last life. From now on, I'm here. No one will ever dare bully you again. Very soon, the two of us reached the restroom. I handed both the school uniform jacket and the track pants to Mia. Stop standing there and go change. If you catch a cold, that's going to be bad. It's okay. My clothes will dry in a little while. The girl shook her head. Go on, or I'll get mad and never bother with you again. My expression darkened, and I pushed the clothes toward her again. Mia looked up at me with my face clouded over, and, for some reason, she felt a little anxious at the thought that I might ignore her. She hurried into the restroom. Ethan, I know you're doing this on purpose to make me mad. Come on, just apologize to me, and I'll forgive you. When Chloe saw Ethan waiting at the stairwell, she assumed he was standing there on purpose, just to create a chance encounter with her, and she was secretly delighted. She decided that as long as he apologized, she could still let him help her buy lunch in the future. Ma'am, are you talking to me? Chloe and Lily both froze. There are only 3 people here. If I'm not talking to you, who else would I be talking to? Ethan, I know I was a little cold to you before, but from now on I can give you a tiny little bit of sweetness. Looking at Chloe's still smug and superior expression, I laughed. So, this lady still thought I was the same old from before, who'd start wagging my tail over a single smile from her, and throw myself at her cold rejection. Ma'am, are you kidding me? Why don't you look at yourself first? Do you even know what you're worth? Chloe's face flushed red. Ethan, is this really okay? At that moment, Mia came out of the restroom, wearing my clothes and pants. The oversized school uniform hung on her like a cover, swallowing up her tiny frame. Her pale legs were exposed below, and her dirty clothes were clutched in her hands. The moment I looked at her, my heart practically melted. So cute, so pretty, so unbelievably pretty. When I praised her like that, Mia's little face turned red, and she lowered her head. Lily and Chloe were both dumbfounded. They could tell that the clothes on this cute girl belonged to Ethan. But who was this girl? They had never seen her before. Mia's bangs were very long, almost covering most of her face, so it was hard to see her features clearly. Ethan, you've gone too far. I'm never talking to you again. Chloe stomped her foot angrily, then dragged Lily away without looking back. Ethan. Mia looked at me timidly. Had she caused trouble again? That girl was so beautiful. She must be Ethan's girlfriend. Mia grew so anxious she didn't know what to do. She didn't want to make Ethan upset, because then he might stop talking to her. Ethan was the first person who had ever treated her this kindly. What's wrong? I looked at the girl in confusion. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have worn your clothes. I made your girlfriend misunderstand. After saying that, Mia turned to change out of the clothes. Little deskmate, what are you talking about? I don't have a girlfriend. I grabbed Mia's little hand. Mia's face instantly flushed bright red, and she lowered her head, not daring to look at me, feeling the warmth of her little hand in mine. My adrenaline practically exploded. We're holding hands. Dad, your son finally made something of himself. Today was definitely worth celebrating, but before I could fully savor that soft warmth in my palm, Mia pulled her hand away with a bright red face. I'll go back. Looking at my little deskmate who could barely speak properly, I felt ridiculously happy. Little deskmate, oh little deskmate, you're way too kind. I snatched away the wet clothes Mia was holding in her other hand. Stop arguing. I'm a guy. I'm supposed to carry things for girls. I glared at Mia, frightening the little girl so much that she didn't dare look at me again. The 2 of us returned to the classroom and found that everything had already been cleaned up. When everyone saw Mia wearing my clothes, no one seemed particularly surprised. After all, they'd already heard what happened. Ethan, Miss Grace wants you and the new girl to go see her in the office. A boy named Lucas came over to me. I nodded, then glanced at the girls who were usually close with Madison, and stared at them for a moment before taking Mia to Grace's office. The moment we reached the office, we heard Madison crying, Miss Grace, look at my face. I'm practically disfigured. You have to expel Ryan from school. Bullshit. Keep talking and I'll really disfigure you today. Ryan snapped back angrily. Then I noticed Mia standing frozen in place, her face filled with fear. I sighed. Knowing what happened had shaken Mia badly. I walked over to Mia and leaned my face closer to hers, gently rubbing her hair. I comforted her softly. It's okay. I'm here. Mia jumped in surprise and hurriedly stepped backward. Her face instantly turned bright red. What was he trying to do just now? Why did he get so close? Before she could think any further, I'd already grabbed her hand and led her into Grace's office. Ms. Grace, you wanted to see us. Grace glanced at me, then shifted her gaze to Mia, who stood beside me with a red face, and her head lowered, looking at the oversized clothes she was wearing, which were clearly a boy's uniform. She more or less understood whether Ryan or Madison had been telling the truth. Ethan, Ryan just said Madison bullied Mia. Did you tell Ryan to hit Madison? I froze for a moment. But when I saw the handprint on Madison's face, I gave Ryan an approving nod. This kid understood me as well as ever. I sighed inwardly. That's right. She thinks having a little money at home gives her the right to bully a new student like Mia. Ryan and I couldn't stand by and watch, so we stepped in. I wasn't nervous in the slightest. I was completely in the right here. You're lying. I only accidentally spilled some water on Mia. How can you accuse me of bullying her? The moment Madison heard that, she sprang up like an angry kitten. With all her fur standing on end, Ms. Grace, don't listen to their lies. I didn't do it on purpose. You have to believe me. I'm a good student. Bad students. How can you believe bad students instead of a good one? Grace glanced at Madison and spoke with obvious displeasure. This is an office, not your house. Be quiet. Only then did Madison fall silent, though tears kept streaming down her face. Mia, are Ethan and Ryan telling the truth? Grace asked gently. The moment Mia lifted her head, she saw Madison glaring viciously at her, and hurriedly lowered her head again. I looked up at the furious Madison, anger flashing in my eyes. But I knew this wasn't the time to deal with that brat yet. I gently placed a hand on Mia's shoulder and comforted her. It's okay, I'm right here. Mia trembled and looked up at me. My bright smile looked like the morning sun in her eyes, warm and comforting. Mia nodded and spoke softly. You're lying, Ms. Grace. They're framing me. That little bitch is on their side. In a fit of rage, Madison completely lost control and cursed out loud. Enough, Madison. Call your parents and have them come to school. You bullied and threatened a classmate. If I don't get you expelled today, I'm not Ms. Grace. Grace slammed her palm down on the desk, frightening Madison into immediately shutting her mouth. Mia, you two can go back to class now. If anything happens, come find me. I'll stand up for you. Looking at Mia, Grace felt deeply sorry for her. Such an outstanding child, who quietly came to school just to study, yet even someone like her still got bullied. Grace was determined to give this child justice. After leaving the office, Ryan threw an arm around my neck and grinned. Ethan, shouldn't you thank your brother this time? How about the internet cafe tonight? No, I need to study. I pulled Ryan's arm off me and hurried after Mia. Ryan stood frozen, staring at the two of us ahead. Damn traitor. Choosing a girl over your best friend. Even though he cursed me in his head, his body honestly followed us anyway. After we returned to the classroom, Mia spoke softly. Ethan, thank you. I looked at my little deskmate whose blush had finally faded and chuckled. It's nothing. We're friends. Mia lifted her head and looked at me, tears glimmering in her eyes. Friends. Can we really be friends? I'm just an ugly duckling, a poor country girl. Can someone like me really have a friend? Little deskmate, why are you crying again? You'll stop being pretty if you keep crying. I gently wiped away my little deskmate's tears. Her little face turned red again, and she hurriedly lowered her head, too shy to look at me. Seeing even the tips of her ears turn red, I liked her more and more. Ryan clicked his tongue, completely baffled. Did Ethan seriously fall for the new girl? Love at first sight. Isn't that way too ridiculous? Holy crap, Ethan is studying. Then he saw Ethan actually pull out a book and start studying. He rubbed his eyes in disbelief, convinced he had to be dreaming. Little deskmate, after school tonight, I'll take your clothes home and wash them for you. Suddenly, something occurred to me. I spoke quietly. No need. I'll wash them myself. Mia hurriedly shook her head. How could she possibly trouble Ethan with something like that? I gave Mia no chance to refuse and snatched the bag containing her clothes. Little deskmate, we're friends. If you won't even let me help with something this small, what kind of good friend would I be? But, how could he do that? Those were clothes she'd worn right against her body. Mia felt like she was going crazy all her life. This was the first time anyone had ever fought to wash her clothes for her, and that bucket of water Madison had dumped on her earlier had soaked almost every piece of clothing she was wearing. Keep Ethan's clothes from getting dirty. She had even taken off her underwear. So right now, she wasn't wearing anything underneath. The thought of Ethan washing her underwear for her made her face turn bright red, and she immediately reached for the clothes in Ethan's hands. I grinned and leaned my chair backward. Mia was already small and thin, and with my sudden movement, the entire chair beneath her tipped upward under her weight. Mia cried out in surprise and crashed straight into my chest. I instinctively wrapped an arm around the girl's waist. Mia came back to her senses and lifted her head, only to see Ethan smiling down at her. Her face instantly turned bright red. Ethan's strong, steady heartbeat kept pounding against her nervous heart. Looking at Mia's flushed face, I smiled. Well, am I handsome? Why, yes, Mia had just started answering, when, suddenly, she felt the warm, strong hand resting against her lower back, and her face turned even redder. She quickly pushed me away, scooted back, and lowered her head. Her thoughts were a complete mess. He just had his arm around my waist. This is so embarrassing. Did he do that on purpose? But it seemed like an accident. A girl's waist was always an intimate place, and aside from when her dad carried her as a little girl, no boy her own age had ever stirred her heart like this. She secretly glanced to the side, at Ethan stuffing her wet clothes into his backpack. She wanted to snatch them back, but she was afraid what happened just now might happen again. What will he think? If he sees those clothes? This is so embarrassing. Way too embarrassing. But somehow, I think I kind of like this feeling. Soon, all the afternoon classes were over. I had spent the entire afternoon studying hard, and discovered that my special ability was basically a shortcut to becoming a top student. In just one afternoon, I'd memorized every required high school literature passage, so thoroughly I could recite them backward. As for math, physics, chemistry, and biology, I had also started organizing my notes. Things I couldn't understand before now gave me an idea almost the moment I looked at them. But I knew very clearly that I'd only mastered the basic concepts. For harder variations, I still needed to solve lots of practice problems. Ryan kept coming over to bother me all afternoon, but I mercilessly rejected him every time. Ethan, you've really changed. What happened to our brotherhood? Ryan rubbed his chubby cheeks, looking utterly betrayed as he deliberately refused to look at me, and stared dramatically out the window. I gave Ryan a strange look. This guy never did anything useful all day, and was always pulling this ridiculous crap. Fatty, you should study properly too. If you don't get into college, isn't your dad going to beat you to death? Thinking about my previous life after high school graduation, when Ryan died miserably in the street, I couldn't bear to watch this guy stop at a high school diploma again. If we could both get into college, everything might change. Maybe that was part of the reason I'd been reborn. Ethan, you! Ryan's eyes widened in disbelief. The Ethan who always dragged him out to skip class, game, and fight, was actually telling him to study. This couldn't be real. He glanced at Mia beside me, who was also reading, and suddenly a bold idea popped into his mind. Could this be the power of love? Then why didn't Chloe ever have this effect on him? I looked at the fatty and felt the frustration of trying to teach a cow to play piano. Take this and study it carefully. I'll test you tonight. If you still can't do it, I'll do with you. I said those words through clenched teeth. Ryan looked at the notebook, packed densely with notes, and sighed dramatically. Oh, God. Ethan, are you trying to kill me? Despite all his complaining, he obediently went off to study the notes. I buried myself in studying again. Now I'd run into a problem. I couldn't quite understand the final major math question. Unlike literature and English, which relied heavily on memorization, math wasn't solved just by knowing the formulas. Without the right logical thinking, you could only stare helplessly at the question. I scratched my messy, dyed yellow hair and chewed on my pen, unsure what to do. Just then, I heard my little deskmate speak softly beside me. You can simplify this problem like this. She took out a pen and another sheet of paper, then carefully wrote out the solution. I smiled and quietly watched my little deskmate's profile. Only I knew that beneath those thick bangs was a breathtakingly beautiful face. Mia noticed Ethan staring at her with a silly smile. Her little face uncontrollably turned red again. Are you watching me solve it? Yes, exactly. Keep going. I can actually understand everything you're writing. I propped up my chin and grinned as I spoke. Mia's nerves eased a little, and she continued solving the problem. I kept staring at her with that same goofy smile. My little deskmate's fingers were slender and beautiful, and her handwriting was delicate and elegant. It only took her a few minutes to finish the entire problem. Still wanting to keep watching, I reluctantly pulled my gaze away, sighed inwardly. The world of top students really was that simple. After finishing, Mia handed the sheet of paper to me. Here. If there's anything you don't understand, you can ask me. Ethan had helped her, so she wanted to do something for him too. Thanks, little deskmate. I reached out and took the paper from Mia. The instant our fingertips touched, a cool sensation brushed across my heart. Mia hurriedly pulled her fingers back and lowered her head, too shy to look at Ethan. Her heart pounded wildly. Mia felt like she was going crazy. What was happening to her? Today, her deskmate had not only pinched her cheek, but had also wrapped an arm around her waist. Even though neither had really been intentional, she'd never experienced anything like this in her entire life. She wanted nothing more than to crawl into a crack in the floor. Seeing this, I nearly burst out laughing. Fatty, do you have any milk? Ryan, who had been about to fall asleep, squinted at me and looked over in confusion. Yeah. Why? Toss me a bottle. I blinked at him. Ryan looked a little surprised, but still reached under his seat for a bottle and tossed it to Ethan. Now hurry up and study. If you go back to sleep, I'll beat your ass. Ryan's mouth twitched. My change in attitude had caught him completely off guard. Damn woman. You stole Ethan's heart from me. Ryan cursed furiously in his heart, but there was nothing he could do. I looked away, stuck the straw into the carton of milk, and pushed it in front of Mia. Help me drink this. Mia hurriedly waved her hands. And no, I can't. Then help me throw it away. I don't want it. A sly smile appeared at the corner of my mouth. Mia looked awkwardly at the milk in front of her. Ever since she was little, her grandparents had taught her never to waste food. Throwing away unopened milk would be far too wasteful. All right then, seeing Mia accept it, I finally went back to studying. Ryan looked deeply wronged. He felt like crying. There was no love left. Absolutely none. He didn't even ask me if I wanted one. I completely ignored his misery. Mia, come outside for a moment. Don't. Grace appeared at the back door and called Mia's name. I turned around and saw Grace smiling warmly at Mia, with several pieces of clothing in her hands. Okay, Ms. Grace. Mia stood up and walked outside. Mia came over to Grace with her head lowered. Mia, take these clothes and change into them first. I just went out and bought them for you. I'm not sure whether they'll fit. Grace handed the clothes to Mia. No, I can't. Mia had just started refusing when Grace interrupted her. Silly girl, you've been through enough today. It's okay. From now on, your teacher is here for you. Go change your clothes first. You can't keep wearing Ethan's clothes all day. Mia lowered her head and glanced at herself, and realized Ethan's clothes really were far too big on her. She wasn't wearing anything underneath either, so one careless movement could easily expose her. Besides, it was already fall, and the weather had turned chilly. Cold air kept slipping in from every direction, making her feel extremely uncomfortable. Thank you, Ms. Grace. After watching Mia leave with Grace, I walked over to Fatty, and once again woke Ryan, who was about to drift off to dreamland. Ethan, stop bothering me. I'm trying to sleep. Ryan looked deeply wronged. What kind of day was this? Within just a few minutes, his sweet dreams had already been interrupted twice. Fatty, do me a favor. I hooked an arm around Ryan's shoulders. I want you to look into Mia's situation. I already had some friends start checking into it. Don't worry, I'll definitely have news for you tomorrow. Ryan practically patted his chest as he promised. Right now, he only wanted to get back to sleep. That part isn't urgent. Help me find a few people to teach Madison a lesson. That brat dared bully Mia. I want to make sure she never dares do it again. Ryan looked at me in surprise. Are you seriously going back to being that simp you always talked about? Bullshit. This is mutual. Mia and I genuinely like each other. Ryan gave me a disgusted look. You're getting more shameless by the day. Mia just transferred here, and you're already thinking about... Forget it, you wouldn't understand. Are you helping or not? Hey, if this is about my future sister-in-law, of course I'll help. Just wait. I'll contact some people later. After saying that, Ryan pulled an old Nokia phone out of his waistband and started sending messages. Now that's what I like to hear. I'll reward you with another game card. I was very satisfied with Ryan calling Mia his sister-in-law. A little over 10 minutes later, Mia came back wearing the new clothes. I put down my pen and stared at her blankly. She was beautiful. A white wool sweater paired with jeans and a pair of white sneakers made it impossible to see the timid, frail girl from before. Instead, she gave off a quiet, intelligent charm. Perhaps she noticed Ethan staring at her, because beneath those heavy bangs, her fair little face once again turned faintly red. Ethan, does it look bad? I immediately grinned and nodded. It looks good, really good. You look amazing. So amazing, I almost want to marry you. Mia suddenly lifted her head, but the very next second, she lowered it again, her face turning even redder. Even the tips of her ears were burning. She felt like she was losing her mind. He said he wants to marry me. Was he serious? No way. I'm so ugly. Why would he ever marry me? He's so handsome. I'm not good enough for him. The moment she thought that, Mia's excited heart felt as though a bucket of ice water had been poured over it. A deep sense of disappointment rose inside her. That's right. I'm just a poor girl. How could someone like me ever deserve Ethan? I noticed the change in Mia's expression and frowned. Little deskmate, what's wrong? Does she not want me to marry her? Or did I move too fast and make her uncomfortable? Thinking about what I'd seen in my previous life, I immediately pushed that idea out of my mind. Mia would never be disgusted by me. So why was she making that expression? I couldn't figure it out. But when I saw the little girl's slender fingers twisting nervously together, I more or less understood. Silly girl. I sighed helplessly to myself, then raised my hand and gently patted Mia's head. Mia jumped in surprise. Her rosy little face filled with confusion. She even forgot to dodge and simply stared quietly at me. I looked back at her with a smile, my hand gently stroking Mia's head. At that moment, time seemed to freeze. Then suddenly, a cough sounded behind us, shattering that beautiful moment. Mia finally came back to her senses and covered her face, too embarrassed to look at anyone. She really felt like she was going insane. At that moment, she wanted nothing more than to crawl into a hole. How could this happen? Why was this happening? He touched my head so gently. She covered her face and didn't dare look at me. Gold plaids. Her pounding heartbeat completely exposed how she felt. I couldn't help smiling at the sight. Ethan, come outside with me. The Ice Queen. Grace's cool voice came from behind me. Ms. Grace. I turned around and found Grace staring at me with a faint, unreadable smile. I glanced at Mia and more or less knew why Grace wanted me to step outside. She probably wanted to tell me not to interfere with Mia's studies. Once we were outside the classroom, Grace looked at me and slowly spoke. First, I want to thank you for what you did for Mia today, but I hope you won't interfere with her studies. She has a bright future, and she's carrying the hopes of her entire family. So, you understand what I mean, right? Well, and Grace looked at me calmly. I frowned, just as I expected. After seeing what happened earlier, Grace must have assumed I was distracting Mia, and, very likely, she also believed Madison bullying Mia today might somehow have had something to do with me. Ms. Grace, I haven't been disturbing Mia, and I wouldn't bear to disturb her. I lifted my head and looked directly at Grace, my gaze unwavering. Grace frowned. This was probably the first time a student had dared look at her with such determination. She quickly let out a few cold laughs. Ridiculous. Just because you say you're not interfering doesn't make it true. You and Mia come from completely different worlds. I know your situation. Mia doesn't have the same opportunities you do. The place you were born into is the destination she may spend her entire life chasing. She's a good kid, and I don't want you interfering with her. Grace's words made my heart stir. How did she know about my background? As far as I knew, my family's circumstances were something only Mr. Dalton knew. When you were chasing Chloe, we all chose to look the other way. Because her family already had her future planned out. But Mia is different, so I don't want you interfering with her. Dambass. Grace's gaze remained cold. Hearing that, I couldn't help laughing. Ms. Grace, what makes you think I'm not good enough for Mia? Just because my grades are bad right now. Grace looked at me without comment. Ms. Grace, the college entrance exam isn't over yet. I still have a whole year. I'll prove through my actions that you misjudged me. The reason I can even attend this school is admittedly because my dad pulled some strings. But I will make all of you understand that I, Ethan, am worthy of Mia. Grace still wore a faintly disdainful smile, as if what I'd said were some enormous joke. Then I'll be watching. But if I find out you're affecting Mia's future, you know what the consequences will be. After saying that, Grace turned and walked away without looking back. I clenched my fists tightly. But I could also understand what Grace had said, because many things were far more complicated than they appeared. I walked back into the classroom, and had barely sat down, when Mia cautiously asked, "Ms. Grace, did she scold you?" Looking at my timid little deskmate, all the frustration in my heart instantly disappeared. "She told me to study properly with you, and stop fooling around all the time. Oh, and she specifically told me to protect you." Mia froze. "Protect me? That actually sounded possible. Did Ms. Grace really say that?" Mia was still a little doubtful, and asked again. Looking at Mia, who resembled a frightened little lamb, I suppressed the urge to pat her head, and nodded. "Of course, Ms. Grace even said that if anything like what happened today happens again, you should come straight to me." I shamelessly exaggerated the whole thing, turning myself into her personal knight in shining armor, protector, leaving Mia completely convinced. From now on, you need to learn to stand up for yourself. You can't just let people bully you like this. Suddenly, I wiped the smile from my face, and put on a rare, serious expression. Mia nodded. After school, I went home carrying Mia's dirty clothes in my backpack. But before heading home, I found a few tough older girls to keep an eye on Mia. Even though, after leaving the office, I hadn't seen Madison again, I knew that spoiled rich girl would definitely come looking for trouble with Mia. Since Mia's home was in the countryside, it took at least a full day to travel back from the city. So Grace had arranged for her to stay in the school dormitory. Under a streetlight stood an anxious-looking middle-aged man who seemed to be waiting for someone. "Old man," I called out, quickening my pace. The middle-aged man heard me, and the anxiety on his face finally disappeared. "You brat, hurry home. You must be starving. I've already warmed up dinner for you." Looking at the man in front of me, who had always treasured me more than anything, my eyes grew slightly red, thinking about how, because of me, Dad had died in pain from his illness, made the guilt in my heart grow even heavier. "Dad," I hugged Michael tightly. "I'm sorry." Michael jumped in surprise, and hurriedly patted my back. "What's wrong? Did something happen at school today?" "Tell Dad, I'll go settle it for you." Hearing that, my heart softened. Dad was exactly the same as I remembered. The two of us returned home, and when I saw the steaming dishes on the table, a knowing smile appeared on my face. "Dad, this food, hey, I just reheated it before going out to pick you up." Michael's eyes darted away, and he answered, somewhat guiltily, "Horses and op, really? Of course. I'm your dad. Why would I lie to you?" Michael looked even guiltier. I burst out laughing. How could I not tell? Someone had clearly just reheated the food and left. Now I already knew who that person was. Emily, Michael's girlfriend. In my previous life, because of me, Emily and Michael never ended up together. I remembered that when Emily left, she'd even knitted 24 pairs of thermal pants for me. But in this life, I wouldn't oppose them anymore. Dad had been alone for so many years. He deserved to find someone to spend his life with. "I heard from your Uncle David that you did really well at school today. You even solved a very difficult math problem." Michael put a piece of rib into my bowl. "Of course. Your son can't embarrass you. Dad, why don't you find me a mom after dinner?" I grinned at Michael as he cleared the table. Michael's hands paused slightly, and a trace of panic flashed across his face. He quickly recovered and glanced at me, then laughed and scolded, "You brat. What nonsense are you talking about? If you're done resting, go to bed. You still have to get up early for school tomorrow." I smiled when I saw Michael looking flustered. Dad still thought I didn't know about him and Aunt Emily, but I'd actually known for a long time. In my previous life, I'd stubbornly refused to let them be together, and in the end, Dad had no one to care for him in the hospital. This time, I wouldn't stand in their way. Aunt Emily was an incredibly kind person, and treated me like her own son, but thinking about what I'd done in my previous life made me want to slap myself twice. I walked over to Michael, and under his surprised gaze, hugged him tightly, then whispered, "Dad? I'm sorry." Michael's heart jolted, and he hurriedly asked, "What's wrong? Did something happen?" "Don't scare your dad like this." He panicked. Ethan shouldn't have been acting like this. The only thing he could think of was that something had happened to his son. "I'm fine, Dad. I just wanted to say I'm sorry." I tried my hardest not to cry, and held Michael tightly. A moment later, I grinned and pulled Mia's clothes out of my backpack. "Dad, I'm going to wash some clothes." Michael stood frozen in place, his heart filled with panic. Could it be? This brat already found out about me and Emily. That shouldn't be possible. We hit it really well. Then Michael suddenly noticed that Ethan was washing girls' clothes, and his eyes widened. What the hell happened? Did this kid get a girlfriend? Dad, I'm bringing lunch tomorrow. Make a little extra for me. Just as I was about to start washing the clothes, something occurred to me, and I turned toward the stunned Michael. Then I looked away and started washing Mia's clothes. The moment the girl's underwear fell out, I finally understood why Mia hadn't wanted me to help with her clothes earlier. So that little girl really wasn't wearing anything underneath today. Good thing Ms. Grace bought her new clothes. Whenever I thought of Mia's blushing little face, I couldn't help smiling. Soon, all of Mia's clothes were washed. When Michael saw the clothes hanging up to dry, his old face turned red and he quickly looked away. You brat. What are you, looking at my embarrassed dad? I burst out laughing. They're my little deskmates. In the future. Maybe. I didn't finish the sentence. But Michael had lived long enough to understand exactly what I meant. This brat really seemed to be dating someone. Hopefully he doesn't end up hurting that poor girl. Early the next morning, the moment I got up, I went straight to check whether Mia's clothes had dried. Her family was struggling financially, though she probably didn't own many clothes. I definitely didn't want the little girl going without underwear again tomorrow. They were all dry. I let out a long sigh of relief, carefully folded them, and packed them into my backpack. Then I raced toward school on my bike. Ryan, who had just left home, spotted Ethan up ahead and called out, "Hurry up! We're almost late." I looked back at Fatty and urged him on. Ryan waved dismissively, then pedaled over to me while panting heavily. "Ethan, that thing you asked me to look into yesterday, I found out about it. Mia's situation is really tragic. When she was very young, her parents died in an accident, leaving her and her 2 younger brothers behind. They've been living with their grandparents ever since. But her grandparents are already old and can only farm to scrape together tuition for the 3 siblings. Then a while ago, her grandfather fell on the mountain and broke his leg, cutting off the family's only source of income. That's why Mia had no choice but to drop out of school. Hearing that made my heart ache all these years. Because of her family's circumstances, my adorable little deskmate had become this insecure and timid little lamb who didn't even dare fight back when bullied. I grinned as I sat down beside Mia. "Little deskmate, did you miss me?" The moment I sat down, I caught my little deskmate secretly looking at me. So I nudged Mia's arm and whispered. Mia suddenly lifted her head, and when she saw Ethan smile, her face instantly turned red. "I washed your clothes for you. I'll give them to you after class." Mia's face turned even redder in an instant, and I liked her more and more. At that moment, it felt as though something slammed violently into my heart. I instinctively clutched my chest and lowered my head onto the desk. Is this what falling in love feels like? "Ethan, what's wrong?" Mia was instantly frightened by what she saw and hurriedly asked. I didn't answer, doing everything I could to stop the corners of my mouth from curling upward. Mia was nearly in tears. She kept asking anxiously, and seeing the pained expression on my face, she had no idea what to do. Her eyes turned red and filled with tears. She spoke anxiously. "Wait here. I'll go get the teacher right now." She immediately turned to call the teacher, but I grabbed her hand. Mia turned back with red-rimmed eyes and looked at me, only to find me smiling brightly at her, with none of the pain from before. "Mia, I'm fine." She asked. "You were fine all along." I smiled. Mia's little face tensed as she pulled her hand away and sat down angrily. Tears kept sliding down her cheeks. She had finally realized that Ethan had been teasing her earlier. Seeing that, I immediately panicked. My little deskmate was actually crying. Mia, who had always been so strong and hadn't shed a single tear, even when people bullied her, was actually crying. Little deskmate, I was wrong. Please don't cry. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have joked with you." I hurriedly pulled out the paper Mia had given me earlier and gently wiped away her tears. But that simple gesture only made Mia cry even harder. The other students in the classroom all turned to look, and when they saw Mia crying, their gazes toward me were filled with accusation. I looked awkward, but still clumsily wiped Mia's tears. while apologizing over and over. Suddenly, I seemed to understand. I gently pulled Mia into my arms and patted her on the back. It's okay, I'm here. If you're hurting, just cry as hard as you need to. You'll feel better once you let it out. Mia had suppressed everything for far too long, and finally, under my comfort, the defenses around her heart completely collapsed. Several girls in the class with a strong sense of justice stormed angrily over to Ethan. You bastard, even the new girl isn't safe from you. Get away from her. A petite girl named Daisy, dressed like a little doll, stood with her hands on her hips. It's not like that. Listen to me explain, I said helplessly. Explain what? You already bullied Mia until she cried. What else is there to explain? We used to think you were just bad at studying, but now you're seriously awful. Daisy reached out to push me away. Ethan isn't that kind of person. Just then, Ryan stepped in front of me and glared at Daisy. Daisy, are you blind? Mia is crying because of him, and you're still saying he isn't that kind of person. Daisy's chubby little hand pinched Ryan hard. The little girl was surprisingly strong, and Ryan grimaced in pain. Seeing Ryan stand in front of me made me genuinely moved. Just as I was about to say something, that cold voice sounded again. Ethan, get out here. The moment I heard it, I felt helpless. Why was the Ice Queen here again? Mia's crying gradually quieted. She clutched my clothes with tear-filled eyes. But before she could finish speaking, Daisy shoved me aside and pulled Mia into her own arms, stroking Mia's head like an older sister. As she comforted her, don't cry. We're not going to waste tears on this lousy man. I turned around and saw the Ice Queen, staring at me with a dark expression. Ryan stood beside me and gave me a helpless look that said there was nothing he could do. It's okay. Mia still wanted to say something, but I smiled, shook my head, and walked out of the classroom. Grace spoke angrily. Ethan, I only warned you yesterday. Do I really have to expel you before you'll behave? Mia is very fragile. Ms. Grace, do you know what Mia has been through all these years? She gets bullied and doesn't dare cry. She gets mocked and doesn't dare cry. She spent her whole life walking on eggshells. Yes, you care about Mia, but have you ever truly felt how terrified she is inside? I looked at Grace, struggling to keep my emotions under control. When Madison bullied her yesterday, I could feel her fear. She wouldn't stop trembling. Do you know why? Because she's lived in fear for far too long. Yes, my little deskmate cried today, but I hurt more seeing it than any of you ever could. Still, I want her to cry freely and release all the sadness she's buried inside herself for all these years. Grace looked at me, visibly moved. For the first time, she realized that this carefree, reckless boy in front of her seemed different from the one she used to know. Thinking about that frail little figure from my previous life, crying alone in her bedroom after arranging my funeral, made my eyes turn red. The moment I saw that scene back then, I decided I would protect her this time. No one would ever be allowed to hurt her again. After saying that, I rubbed my eyes, refusing to let the tears fall. After a long silence, Grace sighed. I'll trust you one more time. If you can't rank in the top 3 in the class on the monthly exam, I'll move you away from Mia. Grace turned and walked away. I wiped away my tears and noticed quite a few students looking over at me. What exactly did this kid know? Grace returned to the office and stared at the name circled in red on her desk, falling into deep thought. Ever since yesterday, she'd heard from several teachers that Ethan seemed to have changed, and somehow all of it seemed connected to Mia. Back in the classroom, Mia looked at me guiltily. Her watery eyes were already red and swollen. Daisy glared angrily at me. Ah! Mia had already explained everything that happened, but Daisy didn't believe her. She was convinced Ethan had bullied Mia, and that Mia was too afraid to admit it. Ethan, I'm sorry. It's all my fault. I'm sorry. Mia's tears began falling again. Mia, don't cry. He's the one who did something wrong. He's the one who should be crying. Daisy held Mia's little hand and glared at Ethan. It's okay. Seeing Mia's swollen red eyes made my heart ache, and I reached out to wipe away her tears. But the moment my hand moved toward her, Daisy slapped it away. This bastard bullied our Mia, and now he's pretending to be the good guy. Have you no shame? Daisy stood there like Mia's personal bodyguard, refusing to give Ethan any chance at all. Daisy, Mia had barely spoken. when Daisy immediately glared at the little girl, frightening her so badly she forgot what she wanted to say. "Call me Daisy." Looking at this fiercely righteous little rich girl, I felt completely helpless. There was absolutely no point in me staying here. I was only being treated like the enemy. "Class is about to start. Why don't you go back first and come over again next period?" I looked at Daisy as I spoke. "I'm not leaving." "You rotten man. You're obviously waiting for me to leave so you can bully Mia again. And even if Mia gets hurt, she definitely won't dare tell me. I'm not going anywhere today." Daisy puffed out her small chest and glared fiercely at me. "Daisy, Ethan really didn't bully me. I just wanted to cry." Seeing Ethan constantly being blamed, Mia hurriedly spoke up. "Silly girl. Why are you still defending him at a time like this? He's a complete bastard. You can't let him fool you." Daisy looked at Mia very seriously. Then suddenly her eyes lit up. Before Mia could react, Daisy reached out and swept Mia's bangs upward. "Oh my God, you're so beautiful," Daisy cried out. Mia instinctively leaned backward. Her bangs fell back down. "Mia, you're gorgeous. I've decided I'm going to be your deskmate." After recovering from her surprise, Daisy looked at Mia with sparkling eyes. She had never imagined that this new student, who looked completely ordinary at first glance, was actually a stunning beauty. Those delicate features, that gentle gaze, and that fair skin were simply unbelievable. My face darkened, and I almost cursed out loud. What the hell was this? She had barely arrived and was already trying to steal my little deskmate. I grabbed Mia's slender wrist and glared at Daisy irritably. "Daisy, get lost. My little deskmate is mine. No one is taking her away from me." Mia stared at me blankly, her heart pounding wildly. "What does he mean, his? When did I become his? So embarrassing." Daisy was also stunned by what Ethan had just said. After freezing for a few seconds, she recovered and immediately wrapped an arm around Mia. "Nonsense. Mia is my destined soulmate. What right does a lousy man like you have to say she's yours? I don't care who shows up today. I'm making this clear right now. My little deskmate is mine." While the two of us argued over who would sit beside Mia, we completely ignored the bell signaling the start of class. Grace walked over with a dark expression. "Class has started. Why are you still making a scene? Get back to your seats." Her sudden voice made all three of us jump. Daisy looked up and saw Grace. Belle then gave an awkward smile. "Ms. Grace, I'm going back right now." She definitely didn't dare make this teacher angry. Before leaving, she shot me a vicious glare, as if saying that, if I dared bully Mia, she would tear me apart with her bare hands. "You think you can steal my little deskmate from me? Dream on." I flashed a smug, victorious smile. I'm sorry. You got scolded because of me." Mia spoke softly and timidly. "Hey, little deskmate, were you worried about me just now?" Your eyes were all red, thinking about what Mia had looked like earlier. I grinned as I asked. Mia's face turned red, and no, the wind just got in my eyes. I froze. The wind. Couldn't this girl come up with a better excuse? Where was there even any wind inside the classroom? It was practically winter already, even if it hadn't snowed yet, and the gloomy weather was freezing. Everyone sitting by the windows had them shut tight. Perhaps sensing my gaze, Mia's face turned even redder. What kind of excuse was that? There wasn't even any wind in the classroom. I'm so stupid. Why did I come up with that excuse? She wanted to crawl into a hole and disappear. Then my calm voice slowly sounded. "Little deskmate, I saw you smiling earlier, so I deliberately played a little joke on you. I just wanted you to stay happy. I never meant to make you cry. I don't like seeing you keep every painful thing buried inside your heart. You're only 17. You deserve to be cared for and protected too. If you're willing, I hope you can treat me as someone you can talk to. Daisy is actually a pretty good girl. The two of you could become good friends." My voice was calm, yet somehow it made people feel at ease. Mia raised her head and looked at Ethan. In all her 17 years, no one had ever said anything like this to her. Deep down, she'd always believed that as the eldest daughter, she had to shoulder every responsibility in the family. Her eyes turned red again. "So, I'm handsome, right?" My single sentence instantly broke through Mia's emotions. She covered her mouth and laughed softly. This time, she laughed with genuine happiness. Soon, the entire morning of classes was over. Ryan, who had slept through most of the morning, yawned and walked over to me. "Ethan, let's go eat." But his eyes quickly widened. Ethan casually pulled 2 insulated lunchboxes out from under his desk. "Holy crap, Ethan. I recognize those. Uncle Michael must have cooked again. His cooking is amazing. I freaking love it." Ryan casually dragged his chair over beside Ethan and reached out to open one of the lunchboxes. I slapped Ryan's hand away. "Ethan, what are you doing?" Ryan looked at me pitifully. He was kindly offering to help me eat, and I actually hit him. "Go eat at the cafeteria." I glared at Ryan irritably. "But there's no way you can finish all of this by yourself." I opened the lunchboxes, and the delicious aroma of food immediately filled the air, making Ryan swallow hard. "Who said I'm eating alone? Can't you see there are 2 portions?" I placed one of them in front of Mia, Ethan. I can't take this. Mia was hungry too, but Grace had given her $100 yesterday, and she planned to buy a few buns later. My dad heard I had a deskmate, so he specially made this for you. If you don't eat it, I'll get beaten when I go home. You have no idea how hard my dad hits me. I exaggerated wildly about how Michael supposedly beat me. Ryan was dumbfounded. Since when had Uncle Michael ever hit Ethan? Pretty sure that had never happened. No, wait. This bastard got himself a girl he liked, and immediately threw his sworn brother aside. Who was the one who used to say brothers were like limbs, and women were just clothes? Ryan sat there looking bitter and resentful, like some abandoned wife. "Why don't you let Ryan eat it instead?" "Ms. Grace gave me some money yesterday, so I have money to buy food." Mia noticed Ryan staring longingly from the side, and hurriedly spoke up. "My little deskmate really is the best." Ryan's heart filled with joy. "Absolutely not. My dad said you have to eat it. Besides, today's food is really greasy. Fatty is busy trying to lose weight. If you let him eat this, wouldn't all his hard work go to waste?" I spoke as though I were sincerely thinking of Ryan's well-being, making Mia instinctively want to apologize to him. Ryan's mouth twitched even harder. "Since when am I trying to lose weight? How come I didn't know?" He was just about to speak when Ethan turned toward him. "Fatty, you have to stay strong. Otherwise, when you end up homeless someday, think about how fat you are. You won't survive long on the streets before you starve to death. And what if you also develop high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and diabetes? Do you really think you'll be happy then?" Ryan stared blankly. That actually sounded kind of reasonable. If he became too fat, how would he survive being homeless? Wait, why the hell would I become homeless in the first place? Looking at Ryan, who wasn't exactly blessed with an abundance of brain cells, I added, "Fatty, you don't study at all right now, so you're definitely not going to find a good job later. No job means no money. We've known each other since we were kids, and I know you're a good son. You definitely wouldn't want to spend Uncle Ryan's retirement savings. So wouldn't that mean you'd have to become homeless?" Ryan's brain completely stopped working. He realized what Ethan said somehow seemed to make sense. The moment he imagined himself wandering the streets with his huge belly, he instinctively shook his head, then slammed his palm onto the desk and looked at me with complete seriousness. "I've decided. I'm going to the cafeteria and starting my diet, and I'll study hard too." With that, he left without looking back, watching Ryan walk away. I smiled. "Fatty, don't blame me. This is for your own good. Besides, Mia is so skinny that she needs to eat more." Mia looked at me strangely. She couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't quite right. But somehow, everything I said also seemed to make sense. "Let's eat." I gently tapped Mia on the tip of her nose, then put a piece of sweet and sour pork rib into her lunchbox. Michael was an excellent cook, and every dish smelled incredible. Mia nodded shyly, then put the sweet and sour rib into her mouth. A rich, savory sweetness immediately spread through her mouth, tempting every one of her taste buds. "It's really delicious." "Ethan, you're way too sneaky. How could you do this?" Just then, an angry voice startled me. I turned around, and the corner of my mouth twitched. This girl was here again. Was she seriously not going to let us eat in peace? I felt utterly helpless. Daisy walked over carrying 2 meals, and casually sat down beside us. "Mia, don't eat anything from this rotten man. Come on, let your baby feed you." Daisy picked up a piece of chicken and held it in front of Mia, while shooting me an openly provocative look. My face darkened. This little brat really wasn't going to let me have an easy day. Ryan, where's Ethan? Ryan had just walked out of the classroom when he ran into Chloe, who was heading out to get lunch. What do you want? Ryan frowned and looked at the campus beauty who had suddenly appeared in front of him. Chloe glanced around, then asked, where's Ethan? Why haven't I seen him today? Oh, you're looking for Ethan. He's eating in the classroom, trying to invite him to lunch. Then you're too late. He's already eating with his little deskmate. Ryan said smugly. This girl was definitely no good. She used to ignore Ethan completely, and now she was suddenly pretending to care. Your buddy Ryan isn't falling for that. She definitely just wants Ethan to buy lunch for her. Well, I'm not letting her ruin his lunch with Mia. Chloe's brows furrowed slightly. Today, after class. Ethan still hadn't come over pretending to. Accidentally run into her, she had thought he would definitely come help buy her lunch. But he was already eating, and with his little deskmate. This was going too far. Chloe stomped her foot angrily and stormed toward senior class 5. She wanted to see today who exactly was keeping Ethan from coming to apologize to her. Lily glared at Ryan, then hurried after Chloe. What exactly is Ethan doing? He hasn't spoken to me all day. Chloe turned toward her best friend Lily and asked in confusion, Maybe he doesn't like you anymore. Otherwise, Lily cautiously began. But the moment Chloe heard that, she immediately cut Lily off. Impossible. I'm the campus beauty. Everyone likes me. Besides, he's chased me for so many years. How could he suddenly stop liking me? He must be doing it on purpose. He's deliberately trying to make me angry. Chloe refused to believe what Lily said. Lily sighed helplessly. It was true. Ethan used to like Chloe very much, but lately, Ethan had seemed different. Even that day with the flowers, something had felt wrong. In the past, Ethan would never have embarrassed Chloe. But that day, in front of everyone, he said Chloe had given him flowers. Wasn't that basically a slap at her face? The two of them soon reached the door of class 5. Ethan and Daisy were both trying to feed Mia. When Chloe saw that scene, her eyes filled with disbelief. No, I must be seeing things. Chloe rubbed her eyes and looked again, but saw exactly the same scene. She finally lost her temper and shouted loudly, Ethan! The 3 people inside the classroom were startled by the sudden shout. I turned toward the voice and frowned. What do you want? How could you do this? Chloe's eyes turned red as she pointed at Mia and Daisy beside me. Why are they eating with you? And why do you all look so close? I was even more confused. What was wrong with this girl? How did me eating lunch offend her? Chloe, who I eat with doesn't seem to have anything to do with you. I glanced at Daisy, who looked just as confused as I was. Mia quietly lowered her head. How could you treat me like this? Then don't you like me? Tears instantly slid down Chloe's face. She turned around and ran away without looking back, leaving 4 completely confused faces behind. Lily reacted first, and immediately chased after her. Oh, wow, Ethan, you're really something. You actually made the campus beauty cry like that, Daisy said with a meaningful smile. Is she Ethan's girlfriend? Mia asked in a tiny voice. A trace of disappointment flashed across her face. At that moment, she suddenly felt empty inside, as though something had disappeared. So Ethan already has a girlfriend, and she's so beautiful. Was everything these past few days fake? Why does my heart feel so empty? Like I've lost something important. Mia felt deeply bitter. Of course, I'm just an ugly duckling. How could anyone truly care about me? That girl is so beautiful. It's perfectly normal for Ethan to like her. After all, who would ever like an ugly duckling? A smile appeared on her face, masked, but it was bitter for some reason. At that moment, she suddenly felt full. Thank you, I'm full. Mia bowed slightly toward me in gratitude, then used the restroom as an excuse and left. You two-timing bastard. You made my baby upset. Get lost. Daisy snorted and chased after Mia. I was completely dumbfounded. What the hell was happening? I hadn't even done anything. How did I become a two-timing bastard? Suddenly, something occurred to me, and excitement flashed across my face. The little girl got upset. Does that mean she has feelings for me? But very quickly, sadness rose inside me again. Even after getting another chance at life, my little deskmate still fell for me so easily. In my previous life, without me around, what exactly did she go through? Ethan, why are you the only one left? Ryan returned with his lunch at that moment and looked at the food on the desk in confusion. Fatty, pack up the food on the table for me. I'm going out for a bit. After giving him that instruction, I rushed outside. But the moment I stepped through the door, I collided head-on with Chloe, who had just come back. Chloe cried out in surprise, and her body fell backward. I reacted instantly and caught her by the waist, pulling her into my arms. Chloe looked at the unexpectedly handsome face right in front of her, and her cheeks flushed bright red. Chloe, stand up properly. I have something to do. Once Chloe regained her balance, I let go and stopped paying attention to her, then turned to chase after Mia. But the next second, I froze. Daisy and Mia were standing less than 2 yards away, watching what had just happened. They had seen everything clearly. Ethan had his arm around Chloe's slender waist, and the two of them had stared deeply into each other's eyes, as though they were about to pledge their lives to each other. Pfft, what a scumbag. Daisy grabbed Mia and started pulling her away. Mia looked back at Ethan, and the sense of disappointment in her heart grew even stronger. I was just about to speak when Chloe's voice sounded beside me. Ethan, I knew you still liked me. You deliberately found someone else just to make me jealous. Of course, I'm this pretty. How could you possibly bear to give me up and fall for that ugly duckling instead? Since you caught me just now, I'll forgive you. But there can't be a next time. And if you're going to find someone else, at least find someone who can compare to me. What does it mean to pick some ugly duckling? Shut up. I lost my temper. I'd finally managed to get closer to Mia, and after Chloe caused this scene, I had no idea what would happen now. Mia was already deeply insecure and lived her life cautiously. All she wanted was to study quietly, get into college, and carry the burden of supporting her family. But Chloe's eyes turned red, and she looked at me through tears. Ethan, you actually yelled at me. You actually yelled at me. No one has ever dared treat me like this in my entire life. You've gone too far. I'm never talking to you again. My gaze turned cold. Your lucky yelling is all I did. Who gave you this much confidence? I'd be thrilled if you stopped bothering me. Chloe turned around and walked away crying. Ethan, about what happened today? Lily looked at Ethan apologetically. As an outsider, she could tell something was wrong here. Ethan really didn't seem to like Chloe anymore. Don't bother. I was the one acting foolishly in the past, but I also hope something like this never happens again. Otherwise, I don't know whether I'll be able to stop myself from hitting someone. I didn't even look at Lily, and turned around to walk back into the classroom. Lily sighed helplessly and left as well. When I returned to the classroom, Mia had been dragged to the front row by Daisy. So much for our perfectly mutual romance. And now, somehow, I was back to chasing after her again. After the afternoon bell rang, Mia returned to her seat. She kept her head lowered and refused to look at me. Just when I had no idea how to break the awkward silence, Mia spoke softly. She's very pretty. You two look good together. I nearly spat out a mouthful of blood. Good together. What kind of eyesight did this girl have? How was Chloe a good match for me? Mia and I were obviously the perfect match. Daisy already told me about you two. I don't mind. I can keep helping you. As long as the two of you can be together. Don't worry. When that happens, I'll leave. And I won't disturb you. After saying those words, Mia only felt the emptiness in her heart grow stronger. But she believed this was the only way she could help Ethan. Looking at Mia's already reddening eyes, all I felt was heartache. This girl was adorably foolish, no matter how hard she tried to hide her disappointment. Her red-rimmed eyes and trembling body revealed everything she was feeling. Little deskmate, then fill your stomach first. I lightly tapped the tip of Mia's nose and took the food back out. No. Mia hurriedly shook her head. Didn't you just say you wanted to help me? How are you supposed to help me if you don't eat? Mia froze. That did seem to make sense, but somehow it also felt wrong. We're in class right now. Mia pointed at the teacher on the podium and whispered. Neither of us spoke again during that period, and we both listened carefully to the lesson. Mia silently stared at the blackboard, while her thoughts were a complete mess. They really do look good together. An ugly duckling like me isn't good enough for him. What am I even thinking? We're only friends, right? Just friends, maybe slightly closer than normal friends. She didn't dare cross certain boundaries. She had finally managed to make a friend, and she was terrified that one careless step would make that friend disappear, leaving her alone again like before. Soon, the bell rang for the end of class. The moment class ended, Daisy came over to Mia and glared at me as though I were her sworn enemy. "Mia, stay away from this shameless, disgusting creep. He makes me sick." "Daisy," Mia tried to speak, but Daisy grabbed her hand and started pulling her away. Seeing Daisy about to drag Mia off, I hurriedly grabbed Mia's hand. "Daisy, Mia, wait a second. Can't you at least give me a chance to explain?" Daisy snorted coldly, then spoke with disdain. "What's there to explain? Anyone with eyes can see. You're using Mia to get closer to Chloe. Ethan, before this, I only thought your grades were bad, but now I honestly think you're disgusting." At that moment, I really wanted to curse. I was more wrong than anyone could possibly imagine. But if I didn't explain everything clearly, Daisy would definitely keep making trouble. I'm not what you think. What I did in the past really was stupid. Yes, but people can change. You both saw what happened today. Chloe was the one who came over and caused that scene. I had no idea she would do that. I'm seriously trying to turn over a new leaf. Ethan spoke with complete sincerity. Daisy rubbed her smooth chin. It did seem to make some sense. The three of them had been peacefully eating together. When Chloe came looking for Ethan, everyone used to know Ethan chased Chloe, but she had never really cared about him. Now that Ethan suddenly stopped chasing her, maybe, thinking of that, Daisy looked at Ethan again. "You're not lying to me." Ethan was about to lose his mind. "Why the hell would I lie to you? What would I even gain from doing that?" I complained inwardly, but still answered helplessly. "I'm not lying. If you don't believe me, ask Fatty." Ryan, who had been happily watching the drama, suddenly froze. He had only wanted to enjoy the show quietly. How did he get dragged into this? "Fatty Ryan, is Ethan telling the truth?" When Daisy glared at him, Ryan shuddered and hurriedly nodded. "Ethan's telling the truth. He used to have his head completely screwed up, but now he's turned over a new leaf." "Fine. Then I'll reluctantly believe you this once." Only then did Daisy unwillingly let go of Mia's hand and sit back down beside her. "Ethan, what do you mean by that? How could Chloe possibly be bothering you? Have you looked at yourself lately? There's a limit to how narcissistic you can be." A boy named Noah looked furious. He refused to let anyone insult the goddess in his heart. Ethan immediately got a headache. Could this pathetic simp shut up for once? Why was he everywhere? No one will think you're mute if you stop talking. And you're such a devoted little lapdog. Does Chloe even bother looking at you? Noah, are you seriously that bored? Why are you involved in everything all day long? Will you die if you stay quiet for once? Before Ethan could say anything, Ryan had already stepped forward. Last time, this guy had caused him to get punished with horse stances, and he still hadn't settled that score over the physics questions. Now that Noah had come looking for trouble again, wasn't he practically begging to get beaten? Fatty Ryan, don't think I'm afraid of you. If you've got the guts, touch me and see what happens. If I don't make you kneel and beg me afterward, then I'm your damn grandson. Noah glanced sideways and suddenly noticed Lily standing at the classroom door. She was Chloe's best friend. If he defended Chloe this fiercely, Lily would definitely tell Chloe. And once Chloe found out, she would surely think highly of him. Even though he was normally a little afraid of Ryan, for the chance to make his goddess notice him, he was willing to risk it. The moment Ryan heard that, his interest was immediately piqued. Why was this guy suddenly acting so tough today? He immediately moved forward to teach him a lesson. Fatty, if a dog bites you, are you really going to bite it back? Ethan was worried Noah might report them to the teacher, so he stopped Ryan. Ryan had already gotten into trouble for fighting and skipping class before, and had disciplinary marks on his record. If the two of them fought again, he really could end up expelled. I absolutely didn't want to see Fatty get expelled, but Ethan, this guy, Ryan still wanted to argue. Fatty, forget it. He's just a pathetic simp. Why should we waste our time on him? Ethan patted Ryan on the shoulder and shook his head. Fine. Ethan, I'll listen to you. Only then did Ryan look away and stop paying attention to Noah. By the way, Ethan, what exactly is a simp? Is it something good to eat? Ryan had heard Ethan use that word several times and was genuinely confused. You want to know? Ethan smiled mysteriously. Of course. Why else would I ask? I can tell you. After you finish reading the notes I gave you yesterday. Then I'll explain it. Chapter 14. Are you serious? Ethan, you've gone too far. Noah realized he was being completely ignored and roared angrily. It made him feel humiliated in front of Lily. And completely lose face. He was furious. He was the class study representative and one of the highest scoring students, whether it was teachers, classmates, or parents. Everyone usually looked up to him. But now, these two were directly ignoring his existence. His pride felt trampled and insulted. Ignore him. He's just a rabid dog. Ethan stopped Ryan from rushing over and beating Noah up. Ethan, do you have a minute? Lily stood at the classroom door and looked at Ethan. When he saw who it was, Ethan's mouth twitched. Seriously, can you please stop making trouble for me? I finally managed to clear everything up. If you keep doing this, you're putting me in a really awkward position. The moment I remembered that all of this had been caused by the old me in this life, I wanted to slap myself twice. Sure enough, anger appeared on Daisy's little face again. Mia, on the other hand, only showed a faint smile. Without saying much, Ethan sighed, then looked at Lily and said, whatever you need to say, just say it here. I'm not going outside, so no one misunderstands again. Lily was a very smart girl. She glanced at Mia and sighed. What happened today was our fault. I'm sorry. Hearing that she had only come to apologize, Ethan finally relaxed. As long as it wasn't something that could cause another misunderstanding. He didn't care. It's fine. It's already over. Okay? Lily nodded, then left. When Noah saw Lily leaving, he forgot all about Ethan ignoring him and grinned as he hurried after her. See, I told you that you misunderstood me. Daisy glared at Ethan. Oh, right. Didn't the teacher tell us to form study groups of 4 to 6 people for studying together? Why don't the 4 of us make a group? Seeing the atmosphere return to normal, Ethan quickly spoke. Wherever Mia is, that's where I'll be. Daisy held Mia's hand, her eyes practically sparkling. I don't mind. Mia nodded too. After both girls agreed, Ethan turned his gaze toward Ryan. Ethan, maybe I'll sit this one out. Ryan really didn't want to join them. His buddy Ethan had been acting possessed these past few days, forcing him to study every single day. And Daisy was practically a little tigress. His arm was still bruised from her pinching him. As for Mia, she was good at studying and had a nice personality, so he had no problem with her. Should I tell your dad about you secretly watching adult movies with that Japanese actress? Oh, come on, Ethan. You're literally my real brother. I'll join. Ryan immediately surrendered. If his dad ever found out that he'd watched adult films, he'd definitely beat him half to death. Good. Then I'll give the teacher our names. Ethan nodded in satisfaction. Because of what happened at lunch, none of them had really eaten their fill. Ethan opened the lunch boxes, and the 4 of them finished every last bite of the remaining food. Chloe, don't overthink it. You don't like Ethan anyway. It's better if he stops bothering us. After Lily returned to the classroom, she tried to comfort the sulking Chloe. Chloe, be careful not to fall for that guy's scheme. He yelled at you on purpose to get your attention. There's a strategy in the 36 stratagems called playing hard to get. You can't fall for it. The class monitor, Olivia, also spoke up. She and Chloe were fairly close friends too. Exactly. A guy like Ethan likes you so much, so how could he possibly give up? The class study representative, Sophia, also laughed. Lily frowned slightly. Ethan clearly didn't like Chloe anymore. How could they still say things like this? What a scheming man. I almost fell for his trick, trying to play hard to get with me. I'll see whether he comes to apologize tomorrow. Trace of anticipation appeared on Chloe's face. She had already made up her mind. Chloe, is it possible Ethan really doesn't like you anymore? Lily still couldn't bear to watch her best friend keep drowning in her own fantasy, so she couldn't help reminding her. Chloe glanced at Lily and smiled. Lily, how could that be possible? You saw it yourself before. He's chased me for so many years. How could he suddenly stop liking me? Besides, I'm this pretty. I'm the campus beauty. How could he possibly bear to give me up? Lily looked at Chloe and wanted to say something else, but Olivia cut in first. Lily, you haven't fallen for Ethan, have you? Is that why you're saying this on purpose? Lily, we're supposed to be best friends. How could you do something like that? Even if Ethan is Chloe's admirer, you still can't act like this. Sophia looked at Lily warily. Lily was completely dumbfounded. She had only been trying to warn them out of kindness. How could they react like this? Besides, Ethan's attitude earlier had already made everything obvious. These girls, Lily, I really don't know what you could possibly see in that guy. Sure, he's tall, but look at that ridiculous punk outfit he wears. And that hair. Even my dad says he doesn't look like a decent student. Olivia looked at Lily with disdain. But, no, I'm only thinking about Chloe. Chloe is my best friend. Why would I ever hurt her? Lily hurriedly explained. Lily, out of all the guys chasing me, I wouldn't care if you liked any of them. But Ethan is off limits. Chloe also wiped the smile from her face and looked seriously at Lily. That's really not what I mean. He doesn't even like you anymore. Why are you still throwing yourself at him? Lily grew anxious and blurted it out directly. Olivia sneered. Lily, that's ridiculous. If Ethan didn't like Chloe, why would he have chased her for so long? And if he doesn't like Chloe, who else would he like? You. That's hilarious. Take a good look at yourself. You and Chloe are worlds apart. How could you even compare? Lily, apologize to Chloe, and we can still forgive you. Forget it. We're all friends. Lily, I don't want to hear anything like that again. Chloe's face also turned cold as she looked at Lily. Looking at the girls in front of her, Lily was speechless. You can play by yourselves. I'm done with this. After throwing out those words, Lily turned around and walked away without looking back. Chloe wanted to call her back, but Olivia and Sophia stopped her. Chloe, ignore her. Just look at her. She'd actually throw away our friendship over some guy like Ethan. Someone like that isn't worth being friends with. Exactly. Forget about her. You're the campus beauty. It's not like you're lacking genuine friends. After hearing what Olivia and Sophia said, Chloe nodded too, and stopped paying attention to Lily as she walked away. Ethan, was what you said earlier really true? During class, Mia gently poked Ethan's arm, and asked with a red face. Ethan grinned and looked at Mia. What did I say? Mia's face turned even redder, but she still asked, I mean, you don't like that pretty girl anymore? After saying it, Mia couldn't even bring herself to look at Ethan. Even the tips of her ears had turned bright red. Guess? If you guess right, I'll tell you. Ethan decided to tease his adorable little deskmate. Really? Mia's voice was so quiet it was almost, inaudible, and even carried a slight tremble. So cute. Ethan gently pinched Mia's little cheek. It was soft and warm. Mia jumped in surprise and leaned away, but Ethan still managed to pinch her cheek once. Of course it's true. I've completely turned over a new leaf now. Besides, there's really nothing about Chloe that attracts me anymore. In this life, you're the only one I choose. Ethan's voice became very quiet at the end. So quiet that almost only he himself could hear it. What did you say at the end? I couldn't hear you. Mia looked up at Ethan and asked. He smiled and made a secretive gesture. That's a secret. After evening self-study ended, Ethan said goodbye to Mia and went home together with Ryan. Ethan, do you really like Mia? You're seriously not joking with me. What would I gain from lying to you? Ethan glanced at Ryan and laughed. I see. That's actually not bad. Mia may not be as pretty as Chloe, and her figure may not be as good as Chloe's. Bullshit. Mia beats Chloe in every possible way. Ethan cursed inwardly. You only think Mia isn't prettier than Chloe because you've never seen the face beneath her bangs. Ryan froze in surprise. Could this be that legendary thing where beauty is in the eye of the beholder? Ethan, it's still early tonight. How about we hit the internet cafe? No, I'm going home to study. Ethan flatly refused. He had something important to do tonight. He remembered that on this exact day in his previous life, when he came home, he happened to catch Michael and Emily busy cooking dinner for him. He had thrown a huge tantrum over it and stormed out, slamming the door. Ethan, you've changed. You don't love me anymore. Ryan looked at Ethan with a pitiful expression. Ethan immediately got goosebumps. He suddenly wondered when this guy had become so shameless. What were two grown guys doing talking about love? People could seriously misunderstand. You get lost. You're a grown man. Aren't you embarrassed saying that? Hey Ethan, you've got to admit I've got thick skin. I'm not embarrassed at all. Looking at the lights glowing inside his home, Ethan felt relieved. He suppressed the smile on his face and walked toward the house. Inside the house, Michael and Emily carried the reheated dishes to the dining table. Michael, Ethan should be home soon. I'll head back first. Emily sounded a little nervous. She was worried Ethan might see her, because Ethan had never liked her. Emily, I'll walk you out. Michael was helpless too. He knew how Ethan felt. Dad, where are you taking Aunt Emily? She's been helping for so long. And you're not even going to let her stay for dinner. Chapter 15. Dad, you really need help chasing a wife. Do I seriously have to teach you this as your son? Michael and Emily both looked awkwardly at the tall boy blocking the doorway. Embarrassment appeared on their faces. Ethan, Auntie, only came over to help. There's nothing else going on. Emily could barely get the words out. Her face filled with embarrassment. Right now, she looked like a teenage girl caught secretly dating. That's right. Your Aunt Emily only came over to help me. Michael stepped forward and stood protectively in front of Emily. Ethan smiled. He hadn't expected his dad to still have such a strong sense of responsibility. Dad, you're already this old. How are you still less sensible than your own son? Seriously. Ethan smiled and took Emily's hand. Emily looked at Ethan, then shot Michael a pleading glance. This child really seemed different. Ethan pulled Emily over and had her sit down, then smiled. Aunt Emily, from now on, if you have nothing going on, come visit more often. Otherwise, who knows what ridiculous thing my dad will do. Ethan, eat first. You've been at school all day, so you must be hungry. I'll get you some rice. Emily felt extremely uneasy. Ethan's attitude toward her had changed by a full 180 degrees, and she couldn't quite adjust. Thank you, Aunt Emily. Emily's footsteps paused slightly. Michael also stared at Ethan with wide eyes. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was strange. In his memory, Ethan had always treated Emily as though she were completely unwelcome and would lose his temper whenever he saw her. But today, not only had he not gotten angry, he was actually being polite. Most importantly, this brat had actually called her Aunt Emily. Ethan, has something happened to you lately? Michael asked worriedly. I'm fine. And Dad, hurry up and help Aunt Emily. Why are you still sitting here? Ethan pushed Michael toward the kitchen and made him go help. You're already this old. Yet your own son still has to teach you how to date. Dad, seriously. Hey, Ethan sighed. He really wanted his dad to succeed. But unfortunately, in the kitchen, Emily looked nervously at Michael. Michael, what's wrong with Ethan? I don't know, but I think he's accepted us. Michael shook his head. It's okay. I'm here. Seeing Emily's concern, Michael reached out and held her hand. The two exchanged a smile. Aunt Emily, your cooking really is the best. If Dad could marry a wife like you, I'd be eating well for the rest of my life. Emily's face turned red, and even her hand trembled slightly. She secretly glanced at Michael. Michael awkwardly cleared his throat twice. Did this brat really change completely? Even though Ethan had insulted him a little, considering the kid was helping create an opportunity for him, Michael decided not to complain. He was secretly delighted, because he knew Ethan was deliberately helping him. You little brat, now that you have Aunt Emily, you're already starting to look down on your dad. But if your Aunt Emily comes over often, you'd better not get angry about it. Ethan glanced at Michael and rolled his eyes, while complaining inwardly. Dad, could you please be a little smarter? Seriously, you make me worry way too much. But who told you to be my dad? I have to think about the rest of your life. Aunt Emily, why don't you just marry my dad? Sure, he's ugly and kind of messy, doesn't take care of his appearance, and isn't always very reliable. But he's honest and responsible. He's a good man. Aunt Emily, don't worry. If you marry my dad, we'll never let you suffer. If Dad ever dares bully you, we'll deal with him together. When he's old, we'll even pull his oxygen tube. Michael's mouth twitched. Was this brat insulting him or complimenting him? What did he mean by, he's a good man, and pulling his oxygen tube? What a wonderfully filial son. Emily looked at the affectionate father and son scene in front of her, and her face turned slightly red. She had waited a very long time for this moment, and had always hoped it would come, now that it had suddenly arrived. She almost couldn't accept it and felt like she was dreaming. Aunt Emily, don't worry. I'll definitely treat Sophie like my own little sister. I won't let anyone mistreat her. Seeing Emily remain silent, Ethan became a little anxious. He worried that because of his rebirth, he had somehow changed the original course of history, and Emily might no longer marry Michael. Aunt Emily, if you think I'm in the way here, I can live at school and give you, Dad, and Sophie plenty of space together. Ethan was genuinely getting anxious. Silly child. What nonsense are you talking about? This is your home. I heard your dad say your grades have gotten much better lately. If you move out, who will help Sophie with her homework? Emily's cheeks turned red, and she nodded. So that means you're willing to marry Dad. Both Ethan and Michael let out a long sigh of relief. This was wonderful news. Everything Ethan owed Michael in his previous life, he was doing his best to make up for in this one. The same mistakes would never happen again. After dinner, Emily was unable to refuse. When Ethan packed up a portion of food for her to bring home to Sophie after her evening classes. Sophie was Emily's daughter. Years earlier, Emily's in-laws had despised her for giving birth to a daughter, out and forced their son to divorce her. All these years, the mother and daughter had depended on each other. In my previous life, Sophie hadn't opposed Emily and Michael being together at all. But because Ethan had constantly stood in their way, Sophie had come to dislike Ethan too. Dad, why are you just standing there? Hurry up and walk Aunt Emily home. You're already this old, and you still need a kid like me to remind you. Looking at Michael standing there grinning foolishly, Ethan was speechless. He was already this old and still made people worry about him. You brat, I'm just too happy. Michael laughed and lightly smacked Ethan, before happily rushing out to walk Emily home. Watching Michael and Emily leave together, Ethan smiled. Dad, I was immature in my previous life, but I won't be this time. Beneath the moonlight, Emily and Michael walked silently together, one pushing a bicycle, while the other walked quietly beside him. A few minutes later, Emily stopped. Michael, you can stop here. Go home and spend some time with Ethan. Okay, Michael nodded. The two looked at each other and smiled. They had waited far too long for this day. So long that it almost felt like a dream. Take care on the way home. Michael, I'm really happy. Ethan finally accepts me. Before parting, Emily hugged Michael tightly, like a shy young girl, burying her flushed face against the broad chest of the man she loved. The warm yellow streetlight quietly fell over them. Ethan returned to his bedroom and turned on his computer. Michael had given him the computer when he started high school. As a reward for getting accepted, Ethan logged into his QQ account, wanting to chat with his little deskmate, but very quickly he laughed. It was only the beginning of the new millennium. Computers were still uncommon, and cell phones were still basic keypad models. Very few people even owned them. Naturally, Mia didn't have one. I'll register an account for her first, and give it to her when I get the chance. But just then, the computer made a series of notification sounds, and the little penguin icon on the desktop started flashing. Who sent me a message? I opened the chat window and saw that it was Chloe. Are you there? Looking farther up the chat history, Ethan wanted to slap himself twice. He realized just how pathetic he used to be. Chloe, good morning. Another day of missing you. Chloe, good afternoon. I was thinking about you even while eating lunch today. I love you so much. Chloe, good evening. It's already been an entire day. Why haven't you replied to my messages? Are you too busy? Chloe, I dreamed about you again last night. We were holding hands and running beneath the sunset. Chloe, your white dress looked so beautiful today. No wonder you're the girl I like. You must have been a princess in your previous life. Chloe, tomorrow is your birthday. I've prepared a surprise for you. You're definitely going to love it. Looking at the chat window filled with messages that had never received a reply, Ethan finally realized that his old self had gone far beyond being an ordinary simp. He had been the ultimate super simp. He couldn't help laughing. How stupid. Suddenly, another new message appeared in the chat window. Ethan, don't push your luck. You should feel honored that I even messaged you. Reply to me right now, or I won't talk to you for an entire week. Inside an upscale residential neighborhood in the city, Chloe was wearing cashmere pajamas, with her long hair falling over her shoulders, giving her a pure and elegant appearance. But right now she looked irritated. That bastard Ethan. He's clearly online. So why isn't he replying to me? Now he's addicted to playing hard to get. When there was still no response in the chat window, she sent another message. Ethan, I'm giving you 1 minute. Reply to me right now, or deal with the consequences, and don't think that just because Lily likes you, you can do whatever you want. You're my admirer. You can only like whoever I allow you to like. Ethan stared at the messages in the chat window with a strange expression. Was there something wrong with Chloe's brain? No normal person could say something this ridiculous. And wasn't she way too confident in herself? What was this about Lily liking me? How come I didn't know anything about it? Could it be that I'm just too handsome and accidentally attracted another pretty girl? Too late, though. There's only room for Mia in my heart. Ethan narcissistically picked up a mirror and admired the handsome face reflected in it. Damn, I'm seriously handsome. How did someone this handsome ever fall for Chloe? What a waste. He sighed. Then Ethan started typing on the keyboard. He wanted to ask about Lily supposedly liking him and find out what that was all about. Even though Mia was the only girl in his heart, he was still curious and a little nosy. What exactly did Lily like about him? You said Lily likes me. What does she like about me? Chloe, who was nearly going crazy waiting, heard the notification and hurriedly looked at the screen. Ethan, your little scheme is way too obvious. You're pretending to ask a question just so you can talk to me. I knew it. You really can't stay away from me. Delighted, Chloe began typing. At least you still know your place. But your excuse is way too obvious. Ethan stared at the message. This girl really was insane. Chapter 16, should a terrible student like you drop out? Or do I have to expel you? Was this girl seriously that narcissistic? For the first time, Ethan realized just how unbelievably full of herself Chloe was. Still, because he wanted to figure out what happened with Lily, he kept typing, Chloe, I'm not interested in you. I'm just curious why you said Lily likes me. And why are you so narcissistic? Has no one ever taught you what humility means? After sending the message, Ethan immediately deleted Chloe from his contacts. He looked genuinely relieved. It was better to stay far away from someone like her. Who knew what she might do someday if she kept getting more delusional? Ethan, you've gone too far. Chloe stared at the words on her computer screen and screamed. In all her life, no one had ever dared speak to her that way. This was outrageous. Did he really think that just because she treated him nicely for a few days, he could talk to her like this? She furiously hammered away at the keyboard, pouring out all her anger. But when she tried to send the message, she froze. Message failed. Staring at those 2 words on the computer screen, Chloe felt like murdering someone. Ethan had actually deleted her. Unforgivable. She was furious and decided she would confront Ethan about it. The next day, Ethan walked into the classroom yawning and immediately saw Mia already sitting at her desk. Morning, little deskmate. He happily ran over and lightly tapped the tip of Mia's nose. Ethan, you! Mia's face turned red again. She lowered her head, too shy to look at Ethan. What is he trying to do? Even if I have a good temper, he can't keep doing this, but somehow it doesn't feel bad. Mia secretly glanced at Ethan, and her face grew even redder. Little deskmate, if you keep secretly looking at me like that, I'm going to call for help. I wasn't. I was only checking whether you've been studying, looking at the girl's ears, red with embarrassment. Ethan laughed. He loved this far too much. Even her lies were adorable. Then Daisy contacted Ethan. You'd better start cramming these next few days. The monthly exam is coming up. This time, Noah's study group, specifically challenge hours. Daisy walked over at that moment too, and glared at Ethan. It's fine. This time I'm definitely making it into the top 30 in the class. After all, my little deskmate has been tutoring me every single day. Ethan looked completely confident. He had a lot of faith in this exam. Ethan, anyone can talk big. Don't think solving a few math and physics problems makes you amazing. I'm telling you. You guys are definitely going to lose this time. Ethan looked at Noah as he walked over. His eyes filled with disgust. This guy seriously wouldn't leave him alone. Like an annoying greenhead fly buzzing around garbage. He was irritating as hell. Hearing a dog barking first thing in the morning. I wonder whose dog got loose. Ryan walked into the classroom too, cheerfully chewing on a bun. Who the hell are you calling a dog? Fatty Ryan, say that again if you dare. Noah pointed angrily at Ryan and roared. You're a dog, you're a dog. Noah, you're a dog. A stupid dog? A cheap dog? In all his life, Ryan had never heard such a strange request. If he didn't satisfy Noah, wouldn't that mean he was even worse than him? Noah's face turned livid with rage, but he still didn't dare rush over and fight Ryan. The difference in their builds kept Noah rational. All you know how to do is bully, Noah. If you've got guts, try bullying me instead. Just then, Madison walked over too, and shot Mia an openly provocative glare. Mia instinctively stepped backward, not daring to look at Madison. Ethan sneered and stepped in front of Mia. Madison, should I tell everyone about how you knelt down and begged for mercy the other day? Want me to spread the story around? Madison's expression changed, but then she seemed to realize something and pointed angrily at Ethan. It was you. I'll tear you apart. The night after Mia had been bullied, Madison had been surrounded by several girls who had already dropped out of school on her way home and beaten badly. At the time, she'd racked her brain, but couldn't figure out who she'd offended. Now, after hearing Ethan's words, she instantly understood what had happened and immediately rushed forward to grab Ethan. Madison, what do you think you're doing? Suddenly, a rough male voice rang out. Everyone turned around and saw Principal Richard standing at the classroom door without anyone noticing when he'd arrived. He was glaring angrily at Ethan. Principal, Noah hurriedly greeted him. Richard glanced at Noah and nodded. Noah was overjoyed and shot Ethan a provocative look. See, this is how good students get treated. Ethan ignored him and was just about to take out a book to read when Principal Richard frowned. His eyes were filled with disgust. He hated students like this. He really couldn't stand them. They refused to study properly all day and only dragged down the school's college admission rate. Ethan, come outside with me. Ethan frowned, feeling somewhat helpless, but still walked out. Noah and Madison smiled gleefully. A bad student like him shouldn't even be allowed at school. He'll only interfere with our studying. We're the ones trying to get into college. After leaving those words behind, Noah and Madison walked away feeling satisfied. Mia looked worried. She knew Ethan was definitely going to get scolded after being called outside. Principal, Ethan didn't do anything wrong. After hesitating briefly, Mia still spoke up. When Ethan saw Mia looking so anxious, his heart warmed. The little girl was actually standing up for me. Yeah, it's okay. I'm not going to make things difficult for him. The principal showed her a smile. She was practically his precious treasure. He had finally managed to find a potential top scorer. His face changed so fast he could perform opera. Ryan muttered under his breath. Ethan and Richard walked to the corner of the stairwell. Before Ethan could explain anything, Richard immediately started berating him. Ethan, can you behave yourself for once? Your grades are bad, and I don't even hold that against you anymore. But can you stop being a troublemaker? Noah and Madison are both students who can get into college, and Mia is even a potential top scorer. Look at yourself. You're nothing but a bad influence. Near the bottom of the grade, and you still cause trouble every single day. I honestly don't know what goes through your head. If you're a bad student, then at least have the self-awareness of one. Do I really have to spell it out this clearly? I already told you this school isn't suitable for you and told you to drop out. Why won't you listen? Faced with the principal's indiscriminate scolding, Ethan didn't bother defending himself, Theo, because even if he did, the principal wouldn't listen. He was a bad student, ranked 10th from the bottom in the entire grade. As far as he remembered, Richard cared so much about the college admission rate that he forced quite a few low-performing students to drop out. He had also approached Ethan several times, but Ethan had always ignored Principal Richard. He's a student from my class. What exactly did he do? Grace walked up the stairs and saw Ethan being scolded by the principal. So she stepped forward and asked, Ms. Grace, this Ethan from your class has gone too far. He acts like a rotten apple every day, corrupting all the good students in your class. When Richard saw Grace, he frowned, clearly displeased. When Ethan saw Grace, the corner of his mouth twitched too. She already wasn't fond of him, and now she'd caught the principal scolding him. She'd definitely make things even harder for him. Grace glanced at Ethan, then naturally stepped in front of him. Today, she was wearing a light purple dress that revealed her smooth calves, with her hair falling loosely over her shoulders. Grace was already beautiful, and the purple dress added a little more elegance to her appearance. Principal Richard, how come I haven't heard anything about this? Grace's voice was still somewhat cold and emotionless. Ethan gave her another look. This wasn't quite what he'd expected. Shouldn't Grace have joined in and scolded him? Why was she, Ms. Grace? If I say it happened, then it happened. And another thing, I've already spoken to you many times about the way you dress. As a teacher, you should look like one. You dress yourself up so flamboyantly every day. How is that appropriate for school? Seeing Grace contradict him, Richard snorted coldly. Grace's brows tightened as she was about to respond, when Ethan's voice sounded beside her. Principal, that's not right. Ms. Grace is only in her 20s, too. What's wrong with a young woman wanting to dress nicely? Besides, everyone appreciates beauty. What gives you the right to think that dressing like this means Ms. Grace can't teach well? I think there's nothing wrong with Ms. Grace being like this, especially compared with certain people who only care about college admission rates and don't care about the students themselves. There's absolutely nothing wrong with her. The principal glared furiously at Ethan. You little bastard. What did you just say? I'm the principal. If I say Ms. Grace's clothes are inappropriate and indecent, then what's wrong with that? If she dares dress like this, why can't people criticize her? Can she even teach students properly dressed like that? Ethan sneered. Principal Richard, you're really throwing your authority around. Whether I can teach my students well is my business. There's no need for you to worry about it, Principal Richard. The monthly exam is coming up soon. I'll be watching the results from Ms. Grace's class. And you, Ethan, you'd better seriously consider whether you should drop out. Otherwise, I won't hesitate to expel you. Richard snorted coldly, then turned around to leave. Principal, what will you say if I make it into the top 30 in the class this time? Ethan suddenly spoke up. Psst, Richard sneered, and looked Ethan up and down with contempt. You? Save your breath. Pack your things tomorrow and get out. Grace glanced at Ethan, then looked at Principal Richard. If Ethan fails to make the top 30 in the class, I'll leave with him. Ethan was shocked and wanted to speak, but Grace stopped him with a look. Fine. Since Ms. Grace is willing to say that, I won't make things difficult for you. If Ethan makes it into the top 30, I won't expel him, and I won't comment on what you wear anymore. Principal Richard sneered twice, then walked away without looking back. Ms. Grace, I'm sorry. You shouldn't have done that. Watching the principal disappear, Ethan looked at Grace apologetically. Chapter 17, Reviewing for the College Entrance Exam. Go back and study hard. Show him that you're not as hopeless as he thinks. Grace forced out a smile. Although it looked somewhat strained, it still made Ethan feel reassured. Ethan nodded. Grace was strict, but she genuinely cared about her students. That was obvious from the way she treated Mia. She wasn't a bad teacher. Ms. Grace, don't worry. I'll definitely make it into the top 30 this time. Before walking back into the classroom, Ethan dropped his usual joking attitude and looked seriously at Grace. Grace nodded, then walked into the classroom. After returning to his seat, Mia saw Ethan smiling and finally let out the breath she'd been holding. Ethan probably didn't get scolded by the principal. He's still smiling. I'm only this worried about him because we're good friends. It's definitely not because I like him or anything. Mia kept trying to convince herself. Little deskmate, what is it? Do I have flowers growing on my face? Ethan grinned at Mia. This little girl had been staring at him non-stop, without even blinking, and for some reason, her face had turned red too. No. Mia hurriedly looked away and lowered her head, though her eyes secretly kept glancing at Ethan. Seeing his little deskmate still sneaking looks at him, Ethan laughed. I'm fine, but if you keep staring at me like that, I'm going to pinch your cheeks. No. Mia hurriedly covered her face, looking a little flustered. Ethan was way too mean. All he did every day was pinch her cheeks. Besides, she was so skinny. There was barely any flesh on her face. What was there to pinch? She really couldn't understand him. Suddenly, Ethan seemed to remember something, and gently rubbed Mia's head. Little deskmate, you need to help me study properly during this period. Otherwise what? Mia lifted her head, feeling that Ethan was hiding something from her. As long as I make it into the top 30 this time, I'll take you with me to make some money. A bold idea suddenly appeared in Ethan's mind. He wanted to keep helping Mia, but with this girl's personality, she would definitely refuse to accept his help for long. So, Ethan decided he would take the little girl along and help her build a better life. In his previous life, he'd tried all kinds of work, and he knew which industries would make money in the future. What he could do right now was use the resources available to him and earn the first real fortune of his life. And the key to all of this was naturally Mia. Take me with you to make money. But it doesn't seem like we know how to do anything. Mia's beautiful eyes were filled with confusion. I lightly tapped the tip of Mia's little nose. I'll tell you when the time comes. You tapped my nose again. Mia's face turned red. She wanted to say something, but after stammering for a long time, she still couldn't finish, making Ethan burst out laughing. Silly girl, don't worry. As long as I'm by your side in this life, I won't let you suffer again. That entire morning, Ethan studied without showing off. His special ability was certainly powerful, but there were still far too many things he lacked. And it was impossible to make up for everything immediately. After all, nobody could become successful overnight. Mia enthusiastically helped Ethan solve the problems he didn't understand. When the bell rang for lunch, everyone quickly rushed out of the classroom and headed toward the cafeteria. Ms. Grace gave me some money, so I'm going to eat at the cafeteria today. Mia was worried about what happened yesterday happening again, so she hurriedly spoke first. Okay, I didn't bring lunch today either, so let's go to the cafeteria together. Ethan spread his hands and smiled brightly at the little girl. Ethan, you're a grown boy. Why do you have to go eat with Mia? Aren't you embarrassed? Daisy stood with her hands on her hips and glared angrily at Ethan. Hey Daisy, that's not fair. We're in the same study group now. There's nothing wrong with eating together. Ethan glanced at the angry little girl and spoke casually. You, Daisy, was left speechless by Ethan's words. Ethan, shouldn't we hurry up and go too? Otherwise, the cafeteria is going to get crowded. Ryan glanced at Daisy. For some reason, he had an instinctive fear of this little girl. Seeing her looking so furious now, he could only speak weakly. This little tigress was definitely someone he didn't dare provoke. Excuse me, is this senior class 5? A familiar voice sounded from outside the door. Ethan turned around and immediately lit up with delight. Aunt Emily, what are you doing here? Emily, standing in the doorway, froze when she saw Ethan, but quickly smiled. Ethan, I came to bring you lunch today. Your dad told me. You haven't really been enjoying the school food lately, so I brought you something. Emily looked a little nervous. After all, this was her first time bringing him lunch, even though Ethan had supported her yesterday, being together with Michael. She still found it a little hard to believe and couldn't help feeling nervous. Thank you, Aunt Emily. Ethan hurriedly led Emily over to his seat. Then Ethan openly and warmly introduced Mia, Daisy, and Ryan. The three of them politely greeted her, being stared at by several teenagers. Even Emily, who had seen plenty of the world, couldn't help blushing slightly. Ethan, I only came to drop off the food. I'll head home now. Emily took 2 lunchboxes out of her bag and handed them to Ethan. Daisy and Ryan politely declined Emily's invitation to stay and turned to head toward the cafeteria. But at that moment, Ethan suddenly grabbed Mia's hand. Little deskmate, stay and help me finish some of this. Mia looked flustered, but when she saw Emily smiling warmly at her, she could only nod with a red face. Emily's gaze moved back and forth between Ethan, Mia, and she could barely suppress the smile at the corners of her mouth. This girl must be Ethan's girlfriend. Ethan's recent changes must have something to do with her. No wonder Michael told me to prepare 2 portions. So he already knew this girl existed. She looks like a well-behaved girl from a decent family. She probably doesn't have any bad intentions toward Ethan. All right, you two enjoy your lunch. I'll head back first. Your dad is still waiting for me. Emily smiled, gently patted Mia's head, and started to leave. Ethan suddenly called after her, Aunt Emily, you'd better keep a close eye on my dad. Emily looked at Ethan in confusion, not quite understanding what he meant. Michael hadn't smoked at all lately. Could it be, Aunt Emily? You've been fooled by my dad. He's been smoking behind your back. He hides his cigarettes under the bed. The moment Emily heard that, she couldn't stay calm. That old bastard. He kept claiming every day that he'd quit smoking. Yet he'd actually been sneaking around behind her back. If she didn't teach him a proper lesson when she got home, she'd take his last name. Emily was furious. She pulled out $50 and stuffed it into Ethan's hand. Ethan, here's $50. Keep it for now. And buy yourself whatever you want to eat. I'm heading home first. Before Ethan could say anything, she stormed away furiously, watching Emily leave. Ethan smiled. Dad, your son isn't trying to screw you over. It's just that if you don't quit smoking now, you might actually lose your life. So don't blame me. I really don't have another choice. Ethan could only pray that Michael wouldn't get punished too badly. Michael had just finished washing the clothes when he suddenly sneezed. Did I catch a cold? He went inside, found some cold medicine, and took it. A little over 10 minutes later, Emily stormed into the house. Michael looked at her in confusion. Emily, What happened? Did that brat bully you again? Just wait. I'll go teach him a lesson. Ethan's just fine. Emily glared at Michael, walked straight into the bedroom, and lifted the bed. 2 packs of cigarettes lay quietly underneath. Emily smiled coldly, then turned around and looked at Michael. Michael gave an awkward smile. Emily, how did cigarettes get under there? What kind of lunatic would hide cigarettes under my bed? Emily immediately soaked the cigarettes in water and threw them into the trash. If Ethan hadn't told me, you would have fooled me completely. I didn't know you were this good at hiding things, old man. Michael's mouth twitched. What a son, selling out his own dad. He'd finally managed to buy 2 packs and had planned to save them for when he really wanted one. What an ungrateful brat. Ungrateful brat. Ungrateful brat. What a wonderfully devoted son. Michael, I'm warning you. If you dare bully Ethan, Emily's expression grew even fiercer. As she warned Michael, how would I dare? With you running this house, what could I possibly say? You're the boss here. At least you know your place. Back in the classroom, looking at the 2 lunchboxes, Ethan instantly understood. Michael must have told Emily something. Ethan, who was that woman just now? Thinking about Emily gently patting her head before leaving, Mia felt warm inside. She could clearly sense the kindness in her gesture. My dad's girlfriend, no. I should probably call her my future stepmom. What, do you like Aunt Emily? Ethan put all the meat from his bowl into Mia's. I do like her. Ethan, I can't eat this much. You need to eat some meat too. Mia hurriedly tried to move away, but Ethan stopped her with a look. You're so skinny. If you don't gain some weight, no one's gonna want you. Aunt Emily's cooking is really good. Ethan shoveled rice into his mouth, while Mia ate in small bites, with an expression of pure enjoyment. It's so delicious. Ethan smiled. You really are easy to satisfy. Just having food to eat already makes me feel happy. Mia hurriedly answered, Fine. Then someday I'll make sure you can eat Aunt Emily's cooking every day. No, I can't trouble you like that. I can buy food at the cafeteria. Mia hurriedly refused. But Ethan didn't say anything. He only looked at her with a smile. Fatty, haven't you noticed that something feels a little strange? Daisy and Ryan had finished buying lunch at the cafeteria and were walking side by side. Strange? What's strange about it? Everything feels normal to me. Sleep through class during the day. Go home and review college entrance exam materials after school. Ryan took a bite from the giant chicken leg in his hand and mumbled, Lately, there haven't been any good romance action movies either, so I've had to rewatch the old ones. You actually review college entrance exam materials? Chapter 18, Have These Guys Gone Crazy from Studying? These guys must have studied themselves insane. Of course. That's my spiritual nourishment. I feel miserable if I go one day without watching it. Ryan looked extremely proud of himself. Daisy stared at Ryan strangely. She had the feeling that the 2 of them weren't talking about the same thing at all, but she had no proof. If you study college entrance exam materials every day, why are you still near the bottom of the class? Ryan's mouth twitched as he glanced at Daisy. This girl really knew how to hit where it hurt. You wouldn't understand. You're still young. There are some things you don't know about. Ryan put on a mysterious expression, while secretly feeling smug. Little girl, those Japanese romance action movies aren't something a kid like you should be watching. It took me a lot of effort to get them from somewhere else. Can I see your college entrance exam materials then? Now you've made me curious. Daisy took the giant chicken leg from her own bowl and placed it into Ryan's bowl. Ryan looked at the chicken leg and sneered disdainfully. You're seriously underestimating how precious those materials are. You think one chicken leg can buy me off. Dream on. Then give it back. Daisy reached over to take her chicken leg back, but Ryan reacted quickly, snatched it up, and took a bite. Then even waved it in front of Daisy's face. Ryan, Daisy completely lost it. She had never met anyone this shameless before. Why are you yelling my name? Ryan looked completely unconcerned and took another bite of the chicken leg. Great. Now he'd bitten both chicken legs in his bowl. Daisy looked at her chicken leg and nearly cried. Give me back my chicken leg. Didn't you give it to me? Seeing the little tigress about to explode, Ryan hurriedly tried to put the chicken leg he'd bitten back into Daisy's bowl. Daisy dodged it in disgust. You've already bitten it. That's disgusting. You have to buy me a new one. I don't have any money. I'll owe you one. The 2 chased each other around, by the time they returned to the classroom. Ethan and Mia had already finished eating and started studying. "Ethan, what are you two doing?" Ryan looked at Ethan and Mia in confusion. Ethan impatiently looked up at the two of them. "Studying, obviously. Hurry up and finish your food, then study too." Ryan and Daisy exchanged a glance. Both felt that something wasn't quite right, especially Daisy. She was starting to wonder whether she was dreaming. The word study had actually come out of Ethan's mouth. "Mia, pinch me. Why does this feel like a dream?" Daisy grabbed Mia's little hand and asked her to pinch her. "What's wrong? You're already awake. So why would you think you're dreaming?" Mia looked at Daisy in confusion. "No, I need some time alone." Looking at Mia's sincere expression, Daisy decided she needed to rest for a while. This whole thing was way too strange. As the college entrance exam drew closer, evening study sessions were no longer taught by teachers and became self-study periods instead, without anyone noticing, because they had formed a study group. Their homeroom teacher, Grace, required the group to study together. Yawning, Daisy carried her textbooks to the last row to join Ethan and the other two. Ryan was usually careless and unruly, and Grace worried he might be a bad influence on the other students. So she had originally seated him by himself. Now he sat beside Ryan, slumped over the desk, and was already about to drift off to sleep, even though lately the four of them had been eating together every day. But in Daisy's opinion, actually studying together seemed almost impossible. Mia's grades were too good, and there was almost nothing she didn't understand, while Ethan and Ryan had terrible foundations. Daisy herself was only slightly above average. There was no way Mia could carry all of them by herself. So as for their bet with Noah, Daisy hadn't taken it seriously at all. Worst case, she just refused to admit defeat. She slept for more than half an hour before being awakened by the scratching sound of a pen. Daisy opened her eyes and saw Ryan frowning deeply, staring hard at a test paper while his hand worked furiously through calculations. She was dumbfounded. "Fatty Ryan, what are you doing? Can't you tell? I'm solving problems." "But why are you solving problems?" "I'm studying." Ryan sighed dejectedly and looked at Daisy with bloodshot eyes. "Ethan's studying, so there's no one to talk to me." During self-study, he tried to chat with Ethan, but Ethan said he'd disturb Mia's studying, and even warned him that if he didn't study, he'd tell Ryan's dad all his embarrassing secrets. With nothing else to do, Ryan tried going to sleep, but couldn't fall asleep, so he had no choice but to pull out a test paper and work on it. "Ethan?" Daisy froze, and looked toward Ethan beside them. She saw Ethan frowning deeply, while working on a test paper too, occasionally discussing problems with Mia. The desk was covered with sheets of scratch paper filled with calculations. Daisy must be dreaming. She pinched herself hard, and when she realized this was real, she was stunned. Ethan was actually studying. No, why would he study? No, this had to be fake. "I'm going over there to check." "Hey, don't go over there." Ryan hurriedly stopped Daisy. "Why won't you let me go?" Daisy turned around and looked at Ryan in confusion. Ryan folded his arms and sighed. "You're not a little kid anymore. How can you be this bad at reading the room? Don't you think the two of us look like two giant third wheels?" Daisy stared at him. "Are you kidding me? How could those two possibly be together? Ethan likes Chloe, the campus beauty, not Mia, and the only reason he's so close to Mia is to make Chloe jealous." Ryan rolled his eyes at Daisy. "Do you seriously think Chloe is good enough for Ethan?" Daisy's mouth twitched, and she looked at Ryan as if he were an idiot. "Are you out of your mind? Do you know who Chloe is? She's the campus beauty, and she's also ranked in the top 10. And Ethan, forget his looks for a second. His grades are 15th from the bottom in the entire school. Chloe is miles ahead of him. Ethan gets completely crushed by her. And you're saying Chloe isn't good enough for Ethan. Either you're joking with me, or you're blind and something's wrong with your brain." Only then did Ryan slowly say, "You don't understand." That entire week, Daisy went through each day in a daze, without even knowing what she was supposed to be doing. Now Ethan had even stopped having food delivered from home, and waited for her and Ryan every day so they could eat together. Whenever it was time to study, Ethan and Mia were both extremely serious, and even Ryan would occasionally start studying. The next morning, Ken threw a notebook to both Daisy and Ryan. Inside, he'd carefully organized all kinds of study materials and common exam question types, and told them to study according to the notes. and make sure they understood every problem. Daisy was about to collapse. In an instant, she'd become the least hardworking person in the entire group to keep from holding Ethan and the others back. She had no choice but to start studying too. Even her own deskmate thought she'd gone crazy. But Daisy thought Ethan's entire study group had gone insane. When Ethan had written answers on the blackboard before, she'd assumed Mia had told him the answers. But now, after witnessing Ethan's crazy effort, she realized he might actually have the ability. After studying all day, she dragged her exhausted body home, and only then felt like she'd come back to life. Daisy, wash your hands. Dinner's almost ready. After we eat, I'll take you shopping. In the kitchen, Daisy's mom, Linda, heard her voice and happily poked her head out. I'm not going, Mom. I just want to sleep. What's wrong? Are you feeling sick? Linda asked worriedly. I'm fine. I've just been studying too much these past few days. I'm exhausted and want to rest. Daisy weakly walked into her bedroom. Oh, my Daisy has finally grown up. You actually know how to study now. Daisy lay on the bed with a helpless expression. Tell me about it. Everyone in our study group is practically going insane. All they do every day is study. If I don't study too, I'll drag them down. Linda walked in carrying a glass of milk. Daisy, those sound like really good friends. It's a good thing you're studying with them in a few days. I'll have your dad treat them to a meal to thank them. Linda was extremely happy. Her daughter had been spoiled growing up and had never taken studying seriously, which had always worried both her and her husband. Now that someone could motivate her to study, Linda was naturally delighted. By the way, Mom, isn't Dad holding a social event in a few days? Can I invite them to come hang out too? Ask your dad when he gets home. Linda patted Daisy's head, then went back out to continue cooking. A social event. I wonder if those guys will come. Daisy felt a little worried. Daisy, your mom told me, you want to bring your friends to the social event. Daisy's dad, Robert, knocked on the door, then walked inside and sat down on the bed. The moment Daisy saw her dad come in, she sat up immediately. Dad, can I invite them? That might not be a great idea. Everyone at the event that day will be elderly. There won't be much for you kids to do. Daisy wrapped herself around Robert's arm and spoke sweetly. Dad, it's fine. Older people will probably like having some younger people around too, and we definitely won't cause trouble. Unable to resist his daughter's pleading, Robert finally agreed. Fine, but tell your classmates beforehand what the event is actually like. Okay, I love you the most, Dad. Daisy kissed Robert on the cheek, then turned on her computer. When she saw Ethan online, she immediately sent him a message. Ethan, my dad is holding an event in the little plaza on Sunday. It's a social mixer for elderly people. Do you guys want to come? On the other side, when Ethan saw the message, a smile appeared on his face. A social mixer? Could it be that one? Ethan remembered that in his previous life, Robert had also organized a matchmaking event like this. But it had snowed that day, and many of the elderly people attending couldn't stand the cold, so they all left, and the social event ended up failing. This could be a great opportunity to make money. Chapter 19. The Big Opportunity. What are you planning now? The social event Robert mentioned was basically just gathering the elderly men and women from the nursing home together under the banner of a matchmaking mixer, since it was matchmaking, helping the elderly men and women leave. A good impression on each other was extremely important. Ethan turned off the computer, remembered that the weather on the day of the event had been freezing, with heavy snow falling. The organizers hadn't considered that at all, and the elderly couldn't withstand the cold, so they cursed the organizers and left angrily one after another. A perfectly good matchmaking event had failed just like that. If I could prepare some thermoses that day, and when the heavy snow starts, sell them to the elderly people attending the matchmaking event. Ethan's eyes practically lit up. This could be a pretty profitable business. He could definitely make a fortune from it. Early the next morning, the moment Ethan arrived at school, he excitedly went to find Daisy. Daisy, is your dad really organizing that social event for elderly people? Daisy glanced at Ethan suspiciously, then nodded. Yeah, we'll definitely go that day. But Ethan could barely hide his excitement. This was his chance to make money. How could he possibly miss it? After returning to his seat, Mia noticed how happy Ethan looked, and became curious. What happened? Did something good happen? Ethan raised his hand and lightly tapped the tip of Mia's nose. This Sunday, Daisy's dad is hosting a social event for elderly people, and he invited the three of us to come hang out. Mia had already gotten used to Ethan tapping her nose over the past few days. Not only did she no longer dislike it, she actually felt a little happy about it. Can we help with anything if we go? Mia asked in confusion. It was just a social event for elderly people, and she had no idea what students like them could possibly help with. More importantly, she wasn't sure what role she could play. Looking at Mia's confused expression, Ethan smiled even more brightly. Silly girl. I'll show you what I'm capable of when the time comes. I already know you're amazing. Mia nodded confidently. Mia, I never knew you thought like that. Being deskmates with a guy like him must be exhausting. Since you're a new student, I'll allow you to become my deskmate instead. Noah tossed a ball of trash into the garbage can and looked at Ethan with disdain. Looking at Noah, Ethan didn't even know what to say. It was the first time he'd met someone this shameless. What did he mean by allow? Did Mia need his permission? He seriously had no idea what the word shameless meant. Sometimes Ethan genuinely wondered how people like Noah even existed. Mia glanced at Ethan, then looked at Noah and shook her head. I like being Ethan's deskmate. Ethan could barely suppress the smile on his face, so she didn't dislike him after all. Noah froze, and his expression became extremely ugly. This little girl actually dared embarrass him like that. She really didn't know what was good for her. No, she must have just arrived and didn't understand his status at school. He needed to explain things properly to her. Noah withdrew his contemptuous gaze and cleared his throat twice. Mia, you just transferred here, so you probably don't know much about me. I'm ranked #1 in the entire school, and I have a real chance of getting into one of the country's top universities if you become my deskmate. There will only be benefits for you. Noah spoke with an extremely smug expression. He was certain Mia would be stunned by his grades, and practically begged to sit beside him. Ethan glanced at Noah. This time, the guy actually wasn't exaggerating. He really had always ranked first in the school, and both the principal and teachers thought highly of him. Then sighed and was about to speak up for Mia and say something to keep Noah from getting too smug, when Mia suddenly spoke. Is that really impressive? Critical hit. An unprecedented critical hit. Noah stared at Mia with wide eyes, his face full of disbelief. Is that really impressive? Was this girl deliberately mocking him, or did she genuinely not understand? There were tens of thousands of high school students in the entire city, and only 3 or 4 each year could get into the very top universities. Yet this girl actually wasn't impressed. Mia, did you misunderstand what I said? I have a chance of getting into one of the country's best universities. Noah emphasized it again. Mia looked at Noah with slight surprise. Exactly, you only have a chance. It's not like you've already gotten in. What's so impressive about that? Another critical hit. In a daze, Noah almost heard something shatter. It was his pride breaking into pieces. Noah, stop embarrassing yourself here. Come back and show off after you actually get accepted. Ethan patted Noah on the shoulder and spoke mockingly. Still, Mia really knew how to strike right at someone's pride. Even Ethan hadn't expected things to turn out like this. It seemed that the shy little girl had changed slightly over the past few days. Noah slapped Ethan's hand away and glared viciously at him. Fine, just you wait. In his mind, all of this was Ethan's fault. Damn him. It had to be Ethan deliberately causing this. Otherwise, how could this little bean sprout possibly dare speak to him like that? He had previously heard from one of the teachers, Jones, that Mia had excellent grades, but her severe insecurity made her afraid to talk to people, and extremely introverted. So, this had to be Ethan's doing. Noah swore he would never let this go. Little deskmate, you were really brave just now. Ethan smiled and, as if performing a magic trick, placed a piece of chocolate on Mia's desk. Mia's face turned red again, her large eyes looking expectantly at Ethan. Really? Ethan nodded. Really? You were brave just now. Keep being like that from now on. Mia nodded. The real reason she'd acted that way was because Noah had mocked Ethan earlier, and it made her feel uncomfortable. She wanted to protect Ethan too, so those words had slipped out before she realized it. But she didn't dare tell him that. She was afraid. The rest of the morning passed peacefully. When the lunch bell rang, Daisy immediately grabbed Mia and dragged her off to eat. They had been eating with Ethan and the others every day, and Daisy kept feeling that something about it wasn't right. So today, she decided to strike first, and not give Ethan another chance. Daisy. Watching Daisy lead Mia away by the hand. Ethan's mouth twitched. What was this supposed to be? Ethan, don't worry. You still have me. Ryan grinned and leaned close to Ethan. His chubby face was almost pressed against Ethan's. Get away from me. Ethan shoved Ryan aside in disgust. Boo-hoo, Ethan. You don't love me anymore. Have you forgotten all the happy times we spent together? You've changed. Ethan's mouth twitched. Why was this damn fatty such a drama queen? In his previous life, Ethan had never realized. This guy had so much acting talent. Oh, so that's how it is. No wonder they're always together. Turns out they've got something secret going on. Several girls who hadn't gone to get lunch yet grinned as they looked at Ethan and the endlessly chattering Ryan. Their eyes practically screamed gossip. Fatty. Ethan's mouth twitched, and he immediately covered Ryan's mouth, then awkwardly explained to the girls, It's not what you're thinking. He's talking nonsense. The girls nodded with knowing smiles, their expressions clearly saying, We understand. We totally understand. Ethan, don't be mad. We're both obviously straight. How could anyone misunderstand us? Ryan tried to comfort the dejected Ethan. Ethan turned and looked at Fatty, gritting his teeth. My lifelong reputation has been completely ruined by you. I seriously wanted to cry. Those girls were infamous as the biggest gossips in the class. Ethan could already imagine that within 2 hours, the rumor would spread everywhere. Sometimes being reborn was surprisingly helpless too. Man, I'm exhausted. Just destroy everything. Completely destroy it. Sure enough, it wasn't long before several girls started pointing at Ethan and Ryan with amused smiles and whispering to each other. Ethan glanced over, and the girls immediately stopped talking, pretending they hadn't seen anything. But when Ethan and Ryan walked past them, Ethan's mouth twitched. No wonder Ethan stopped chasing Chloe. Turns out he likes guys. Exactly. I heard he and Fatty Ryan have already done, I'm done. Just destroy everything. Ethan could guarantee that since being reborn, this was the greatest emotional damage he'd suffered. It was something even after living 2 lifetimes he'd never imagined could happen. Someone had actually started a dirty rumor about him, and the person responsible was Ryan. Fatty, stop saying random crap from now on. You're seriously hurting me. Hurting? Ethan, what's wrong? Do you need to go to the hospital? Looking at Ryan, Ethan felt exhausted. This guy was great in every other way, but he really couldn't read between the lines. Ethan, stop right there. Chloe, what do you want now? Ethan was speechless. This campus beauty really wouldn't leave him alone. Why was she everywhere? Chloe blocked Ethan's path, looking embarrassed and furious. Today, she'd tied her hair into a high ponytail and wore a white floral dress with shiny leather shoes, making her look especially youthful. She instantly drew everyone's attention. Why did you delete me from QQ? She was furious. At the beginning, Ethan had practically begged her for her QQ number, and now he'd simply deleted her like that. This was outrageous. Ethan had to give her an explanation. I didn't have time to chat with you, so I deleted you. Besides, we're not even in the same class. There's no point keeping your QQ anyway. Ethan looked completely innocent. You're lying. You liked me so much. How could you possibly bear to delete my QQ? That was before. I don't feel anything for you now. Understand? Chapter 20, The Manipulative Girl and the Ultimate Simp. Ethan, be good. Let's stop fighting. Just let the past stay in the past. Chloe looked at Ethan's unwavering gaze, and, for some reason, a trace of uneasiness appeared in her heart. It felt like he might really leave her, but she obviously didn't like him. So why did she feel this way? Chloe, you said it yourself. That's all in the past. Stop bothering me. You're really starting to annoy me. Ethan had no interest in continuing to argue with Chloe. He'd been immature before, and Chloe had never liked him anyway, so whoever he liked now had absolutely nothing to do with her. Chloe froze. Ethan walked past her with Ryan. Without looking back, Chloe stared at Ethan's retreating figure and felt strangely empty inside, as though she'd lost something important. She wanted to reach out and grab Ethan's hand, but she didn't. Ethan's figure grew farther and farther away, until it disappeared. At that moment, she finally realized Ethan truly didn't like her anymore. She had lost someone who loved her, and the emptiness in her chest made it hard to breathe. No, that can't be possible. Tears unknowingly slipped from her eyes. I clearly don't like him. So why am I crying? Sophia and Olivia exchanged a glance, and faint smiles appeared on their faces, before quickly disappearing. Ethan, that was freaking awesome. Now you've definitely got campus beauty, Chloe wrapped around your finger. Ryan looked extremely excited. In all his life, he'd never felt prouder than he did today. This is all because I was young and reckless before. Otherwise, none of this mess would have happened. Ethan sighed helplessly. In his previous life, because of Chloe, he had practically ruined his entire life. He wouldn't make that mistake again. He only wanted to take care of Mia and grow old with her. The two hurried to the cafeteria, quickly got their food, and found Daisy eating in a corner. With Mia, little deskmate, here, have a chicken leg today. Ethan gently pinched Mia's cheek and placed the chicken leg from his tray onto hers. No, I can't. I'm fine eating this. You should keep the chicken leg. Mia jumped in surprise and blushed as she tried to refuse. I don't like chicken legs. Ethan noticed that Mia's tray was filled entirely with vegetables and smiled as he shook his head. Then why did you get one? The cafeteria worker gave it to me. Mia froze, then noticed Ryan didn't have a chicken leg. Why didn't Ryan get one? Ethan glanced at Ryan and smiled. He's too fat and needs to lose weight. The cafeteria worker offered him one, but he refused. It's true, Mia. I didn't want one, Ryan hurriedly spoke, while cursing inwardly. What do you mean I didn't want one? What cafeteria worker is generous enough to give away free chicken legs? Mia still felt that something wasn't quite right, but couldn't figure out exactly what. Daisy, Mia really is too innocent. She can't even see through something this obvious. Sigh. I'm a third wheel again. Ethan, why did you only give Mia one and not me? Daisy suddenly thought of something and looked at Ethan with a mischievous expression. Mia is my little deskmate. Of course I have to take care of her. Ethan chuckled. Your little deskmate. Please, your intentions are so obvious. Everyone can see them. Mia, you'd better be careful. This guy is definitely not a good person. Daisy glared irritably at Ethan. How could you say that? I'm completely sincere toward our little Mia. Don't try to ruin our relationship. Mia's face instantly turned red. What is he even saying? What does he mean, our little Mia? When did I become his? What exactly is he talking about? My heart is beating so fast. Why is this happening? Ethan, what did you do to Chloe? Suddenly, an irritating voice made Ethan freeze in the middle of eating. He looked up, and the corner of his mouth twitched. Noah was here again. Was this guy ever going to stop? Could he quit haunting Ethan every single day? Ethan was about to lose his mind. Why did he run into this guy everywhere? Noah's voice was loud, and everyone nearby turned to look at Ethan. Daisy immediately sensed trouble, grabbed Mia, and moved farther away. Mia, let's stay back. Before we get dragged into this. Ethan was speechless at the sight. Daisy's attitude changed way too quickly. But seeing Ryan still standing beside him gave Ethan at least a little comfort. Now that's a real brother. Noah, why do you keep following me around like a ghost? Ethan, don't change the subject. What did you do to Chloe? Why was she crying again? Noah looked ready to devour him alive. My dad told me not to talk to idiots. Ethan looked at Noah, with disgust rising in his heart. This ultimate simp was seriously unbearable. Thinking back to his previous life, when some spoiled girls always had pathetic simps protecting them, and used that to cause trouble all day. Ethan disliked Noah even more. Get lost. I don't want to hit you. Ethan picked up his tray and started to move somewhere else to finish eating. But just then, a soft, delicate female voice suddenly sounded. Noah was only worried for a moment, so please don't blame him. Ethan instantly got goosebumps and couldn't help shuddering. What an overwhelming fake sweet act. He turned around and saw a pretty girl with a refined appearance and a sweet charm comparable to Chloe's, standing beside Noah. She was looking at Ethan pitifully. A powerful sense of danger rose in his heart. Being pestered by one pathetic simp wasn't enough, and now another manipulative girl had shown up. Ethan really wanted to ask one question. What kind of luck did he have to somehow get tangled up with both of these disasters at once? The pretty girl's name was Bella, and she was also one of the campus beauties at Riverside No. 1 High School. But even though they were both considered campus beauties, Chloe looked down on her, because Bella cried over the slightest thing. A bitch and her lapdog truly made a perfect pair. They really were made for each other. Ethan couldn't help commenting, "Ethan, I know Noah was wrong to question you like that." But when Bella saw Ethan staying silent, the corners of her lips lifted slightly. The head, because she thought Ethan was scared. "Shut up, you manipulative little faker. Your fake sweetness is making me sick." Ethan refused to indulge her, and immediately fired back. Pathetic simps and manipulative girls were the two kinds of people he hated most, without exception. "Ethan, how can you yell at me? I was only worried about your relationship with Noah." Just those few sickeningly sweet words made goosebumps rise all over Ethan's body. 2 lines of tears slid down Bella's pretty face as she gently wrapped her hand around Noah's wrist. "Ethan, what are you doing? If you've got a problem, take it out on me." What kind of man bullies a girl like Bella? Noah looked at Bella beside him, crying pitifully with tears covering her face, and instantly flew into a rage. "Exactly, Ethan. You're a grown man, too. How can you bully a girl like Bella? Aren't you ashamed? Bella, don't be afraid. If Ethan dares bully you today, we'll beat him up." Very quickly, several boys from other classes who had been watching stepped forward too. Seeing this, Ethan's mouth twitched. He had underestimated just how powerful a manipulative girl could be, with several boys now stepping up for Bella. Ethan suddenly found himself at a disadvantage. Ryan slammed his lunch tray onto the table. "Damn it. I'd like to see who the hell dares touch Ethan today." Fatty made a huge scene and carried plenty of presents. With his round, fleshy face, he actually looked quite intimidating right now. The boys were startled by Ryan's sudden movement and became a little nervous, instinctively taking a step backward. Ethan was genuinely touched. "Ethan, I'm standing with you too." Mia, blushing, walked over with Daisy. She didn't dare look at Ethan, and only stared straight ahead. In this situation, Ethan clearly hadn't done anything wrong. Yet, these guys were acting absolutely pathetic. "Don't look at me. I'm only worried Mia might get hurt." Daisy turned her head away from Ethan. Ethan felt extremely grateful. He hadn't expected that at a time like this. These two would still step forward to help him. "What are you doing? Are you going to let people eat or not?" Suddenly, Grace's icy voice cut through the atmosphere, with her long, straight legs carrying her forward. Grace walked over to them. "Ms. Grace." The moment Noah saw her, he immediately forced out a smile. He was a good student, so Grace would definitely take his side. "You shut up." Grace frowned and glared at Noah. "The college entrance exam is almost here, and you're still causing trouble every day. If you're done eating and have nothing else to do, go study." Grace glanced at Mia standing beside Ethan, and a faint smile appeared on her lips. The little girl she'd been worrying about seemed to have changed. She had become braver. "Ms. Grace, it's my fault. I shouldn't have said anything. Otherwise, Noah wouldn't have gotten into an argument with Ethan." Suddenly, Grace felt goosebumps rise all over her body. "If you know you're wrong, then be quiet. You're only a junior. Are you really that bored? Can't you focus on preparing for senior year?" Grace glanced at Bella and felt a wave of disgust. The way she kept saying Noah and Ethan in that sugary voice made her sick. How did a girl end up acting like this? Bella still wanted to say something, but Grace cut her off immediately. "But what? You're a student. Instead of studying properly every day, all you think about is this nonsense." After being scolded by Grace, Bella ran away crying. Noah looked at Grace with concern. "Ms. Grace." Bella meant well too. Grace ignored him and rubbed her temple. How had she never noticed before that Noah was the type who tried to be nice to every girl? Now, she suddenly found Ethan a little more tolerable. Maybe it was because of Mia. "Everyone, disperse. Go do whatever you're supposed to be doing, and stop disturbing other people while they eat." Under Grace's deadly stare, only Ethan and his friends remained. Chapter 21. Ethan. Did you get a whole new head? Sunday morning. Ethan got up very early, looking at the thick clouds in the sky. Ethan smiled. It was exactly like his previous life. Even though heavy clouds covered the sky, everyone still trusted the weather forecast, and believed it wouldn't snow. Dad, I won't be home for lunch today. My friends need me for something. After saying goodbye to Michael, Ethan hurried out. Riverside Wholesale Market. Ryan was shivering, constantly blowing warm air onto his chubby hands. Cold wind kept slipping down his collar, making him instinctively shrink his neck. Today, he wore a bright red leather jacket, with a green sweater underneath, and jeans covered in pockets. His fiery red hair had been styled into an eye-catching afro, with plenty of hair gel, but he'd deliberately left one lock hanging down to cover his left eye. Leaning against his motorcycle, he quickly scanned every passerby. When he spotted Ethan, he dramatically flicked his side-swept bangs, then immediately looked confused. Ethan, why are you dressed so plainly today? Ethan was wearing a white puffer jacket over a white sweater with black sweatpants and a pair of white sneakers, which completely clashed with his messy hair, making him look oddly mismatched. Ethan glanced at Ryan with disdain, his face full of disgust. How had he ended up with a best friend like this? What are you talking about? Aren't we going to a social mixer today? At a mixer, there are obviously going to be tons of gorgeous girls. I have to show off my charm. Why are you dressed like some little kid instead? The social event organized by Robert was happening today. The moment Ryan heard they were attending a mixer, he'd been so excited that he barely slept for several nights, and had been waiting impatiently for this day. At first, Ethan thought Ryan was being way too dramatic. It was only a social event, not some incredible party. But now, looking at how this guy had dressed himself, Ethan finally understood. Ryan had completely misunderstood and thought the main participants in the event would be handsome guys and pretty girls. Looking at his ridiculous punk outfit, Ethan didn't bother explaining. Still, Ryan's appearance was almost painful to look at. It was enough to give someone second-hand embarrassment. Ethan couldn't understand why he'd ever liked dressing like this too. Even he felt helpless about it. Without hesitation, in chase, he directly took over driving the motorcycle. Ethan, where are we going now? I remember the social mixer doesn't start until 3 this afternoon. Why don't we hang out at the internet cafe for a while? It's freezing out here anyway. We're getting haircuts. Ryan froze. Haircuts. The moment he heard that, he started wondering whether he'd misheard, or whether Ethan had really said exactly that. Still uncertain, he asked Ethan, what did you just say? The wind's too strong. I couldn't hear you. Ethan glanced at Ryan's confused face in the mirror and said even louder, we're getting haircuts. Ethan, what happened to you? It took me forever to grow my hair this long. You can cut off my head and drain my blood, but you can't mess with my hairstyle. Ryan kept trying to persuade him, but Ethan ignored him completely. 5 minutes later, the motorcycle stopped outside a hair salon. Ryan fell silent. Ethan, there's a social mixer today. If you cut your hair now, how are you supposed to impress all the young, pretty girls there? This is such a rare opportunity. Ethan got off the motorcycle and walked into the salon on his own, completely ignoring Ryan. This guy's sense of style was way too bizarre, dressed like some wannabe punk. Who would even be interested in him? Besides, this social event was for a bunch of elderly men and women. The main reason Ethan chose this salon was because the owner was an elderly man who wouldn't try to give him some weird trendy hairstyle. After Ethan sat down, an old man in his early 60s walked over. Young man, how do you want your haircut? The old man's voice wasn't loud, but it was full and powerful, completely unlike what you'd expect from someone his age. Sir, can you give me a textured cut? A textured cut? The owner froze. For a moment, he had no idea what the young man meant. Just trim the sides and the back shorter. Then do it like this. And like this, Ethan explained while gesturing. 2 minutes later, the old man finally more or less understood what Ethan wanted. Young man, this is my first time cutting a style like that, so don't blame this old man if I mess it up. The old man looked a little worried. After all, it really was his first attempt. You won't. I trust you. There was another reason Ethan had chosen this place. Besides the fact that the old man wouldn't nag him about keeping his hair long, Ethan had discovered that the man's skills were excellent. He could usually recreate almost any cut a customer described. Of course, things like perms and hair dye were beyond him, so even though the old man was skilled, most of the customers who came here were people over 30. All right then, this old man will give it a try, while Ryan repeatedly cried, "Ethan, you need to think this through." The old man's scissors began moving. What a shame. Such great hair, and now it's all going to be gone. Ryan looked genuinely heartbroken, but soon started fussing with his own hairstyle in the mirror. Half an hour later, the old man finally stopped and nodded with satisfaction. The teenager in front of him no longer had that messy hairstyle. Soft textured bangs now covered part of his forehead, while the contours of his face looked sharp and defined, making him look clean and handsome. With the youthful energy unique to someone his age, he looked like the kind of boy countless girls would dream about. Not bad at all. Ethan looked at himself in the mirror and ran a satisfied hand through his hair. Sure enough, young guys looked much fresher with a hairstyle like this. As for those ridiculous punk hairstyles, he really couldn't appreciate them anymore. He had no idea how they'd ever become popular. "Thanks, sir." Ethan paid for the haircut. "Young man, this hairstyle of yours is really good. I'm thinking of promoting it in my shop from now on. Compared with those red afros, this kind of cut suits young people much better." The salon owner only charged him half the normal price. Ethan's hairstyle had given him a new idea. "Sure, sir. I think this style suits younger people better too." Ethan was happy as well. "Young man, would you mind if I kept a photo of you here as a reference for other customers?" The old man pulled a camera out of a cabinet nearby and looked at Ethan expectantly. "Of course not." "Great." The old man excitedly started taking pictures of Ethan. Ryan was completely stunned. How had his buddy Ethan suddenly turned into this? Did he get a whole new head or something? Ryan looked at Ethan cooperating with the owner for the photos, then looked at himself in the mirror and gritted his teeth. "Sir, I want the same haircut as Ethan." "All right." Half an hour later, Ryan looked at himself and Ethan in the mirror, his face turning dark. "Ethan, I need to lose weight." Ryan had gotten the same textured haircut, and although he looked much cleaner and fresher, that was all. Handsome still had nothing to do with him. Looking at the ridiculously handsome Ethan in the mirror, Ryan reached a conclusion. The reason he wasn't handsome had to be because he was fat, right? Now you finally look decent. Once you lose weight, you'll definitely be as handsome as me. Then we'll both be the hottest guys in school. Ethan said it without the slightest embarrassment. "Ethan, do you think at today's social mixer, some pretty older girl might fall for me? After all, compared with before, I'm several times more handsome now." Ryan looked incredibly smug. Ethan gave him a once-over, although his clothes still made him look a little shady. The new haircut did give him a roguishly handsome edge. Definitely. The two walked out of the salon, and a blast of cold wind made them both shiver. Without their long hair covering them, the backs of their heads suddenly felt freezing. "Ethan, let's hurry. We just cut our hair, and it's freezing out here." "Fatty, did you bring money?" "Yeah." Ryan shivered as he pulled $200 from his pocket and handed it to Ethan. "I'll pay you back tonight." "Wait, Ethan, why do you need that much money?" Ryan wasn't unwilling to lend it to him. He was just curious. "Get on." Ethan didn't answer, and simply took the money Ryan handed him. It was actually a little embarrassing. He only had $150 on him, because he'd spent most of his previous money buying gifts for Chloe, but now, together with the $350 he'd borrowed from Fatty, it should be enough. 5 minutes later, the two arrived outside a small shop. Ryan felt like they'd gone completely out of their way for nothing. Why had they come all the way here? Weren't they supposed to be going to the social event? And even if they needed to buy something, they could have bought it at the department store earlier. Why come to this tiny shop? Ethan stopped the motorcycle, pointed at the hot water bottles hanging on the wall, and asked the owner, "Ma'am, how much are these?" The shop owner was a middle-aged woman. She glanced at Ethan and casually replied, $3 each. "I want 150. How about $300 for all of them?" The shop owner looked at Ethan suspiciously. "Young man, if you're really buying that many, I'll give you 400 for $300. Deal." Ethan agreed immediately and slapped $300 onto the counter. The shop owner saw that and realized the teenager was serious, so she immediately told Ethan to wait while she went to get the stock. This was a major sale. Although winter was almost here, The temperature during this period still wouldn't drop too dramatically. Besides, most people nowadays were buying rechargeable heating pads. So, old-fashioned hot water bottles that needed to be filled were hard to sell. Ryan was completely dumbfounded. What the hell was going on? Why was Ethan buying hot water bottles? And these old-fashioned ones that needed hot water were practically obsolete. Yet Ethan had bought 150 of them at once. Ethan, what are you planning to do with this many hot water bottles? You could just buy rechargeable ones. Those are way more convenient. Chapter 22. He's so gentle. Ryan watched Ethan take 400 hot water bottles, pay for them, and walk out of the shop, and still couldn't process what had happened. There were only 2 of them. How could they possibly need this many hot water bottles? Ethan, we can't use all of these. Ryan was nearly in tears. That was $300. That wasn't a small amount of money. It was almost enough for an entire month's living expenses. Who said we're using them ourselves? We're going to sell them. Oh my God. These things are practically obsolete. Who's going to buy them? And we're going to a social event. You're still too young to understand. You'll see in a little while. Ethan found a restaurant, paid $20, and had all the hot water bottles filled with hot water. While they were being filled, Ethan had Fatty Ryan stay and watch them while he went to buy a white bunny hat. The hat was extremely cute, completely white, with 2 adorable pale pink rabbits embroidered on it. Ethan, if I'm not mistaken, that hat is for a girl, right? Ryan swallowed hard and pointed at the bunny hat in Ethan's hand. If he didn't know Ethan so well, he would have started wondering whether this guy had suddenly changed in some strange way. Of course it's for a girl. What's wrong with that? Ethan acted like it was completely normal and stuffed the hat into the bag. Half an hour later, all the hot water bottles were finally filled. Under Ryan's shocked and bewildered gaze, Ethan took all the hot water bottles to the school. He had already made plans with Mia to pick her up and go to the social event together. A little over 10 minutes later, the motorcycle stopped outside the school gate. Even though it was a day off, the security guard still wouldn't let Ethan ride the motorcycle onto campus. Fatty, stay here and watch the stuff. I'll go get Mia. Ryan was a little dumbfounded. How were 3 people supposed to ride together later? Especially with Mia being a girl, that seemed kinda awkward. But before he could react, Ethan had already taken the bunny hat and the pink hot water bottle and walked into the school. Oh my God, he's so handsome. Who is that? He's way too handsome. He's seriously campus heartthrob material. I'm going to ask for his QQ number. Here too. Several girls spotted Ethan and immediately started fangirling over him. Hey, do you have a girlfriend? If you don't, can I have your QQ number? Ethan looked at the blushing girl, standing in front of him. Sorry, I already have a girlfriend. I'm here to pick her up today. Ethan smiled as he politely refused. The girls waiting nearby to ask for his QQ number all sighed in disappointment and walked away dejectedly. Being handsome really is great. Ethan couldn't have been happier. Across 2 lifetimes, this was the first time a girl had ever asked him for his QQ number. In the past, girls used to avoid him. Now he smiled as he headed toward the girls' dormitory. Mia, someone's downstairs looking for you. Claire walked into the dorm room. Okay, thank you. Mia carefully folded a light blue scarf and held it in her hands. Mia, have you been hiding away these past few days? Just to knit a scarf? Claire noticed the scarf in Mia's hands, and her gossip instincts immediately kicked in. She shared the dorm room with Mia, and after trying to talk to her a few times, he'd realized the girl was extremely introverted, so she stopped bothering her. Because of that, Mia was usually alone. Every day after class, she would quietly sit on her own bed, and do her own thing. Claire had originally thought Mia was secretly studying, but now, after seeing the blue scarf, he immediately understood. This girl had been secretly knitting a scarf. Mia, is that for your boyfriend? Claire grinned teasingly at Mia. Tee-hee, I don't have a boyfriend. Mia's face instantly turned bright red. Claire froze for a moment, but quickly noticed Mia's flushed cheeks, and the corners of her mouth curved upward. Then who? Is that really handsome guy downstairs waiting for you? He's my friend. He's just my friend. Mia's face grew even redder, and even her voice started trembling. Is that scarf for him? Claire's smile became even more meaningful. Even though she'd been single her whole life, she'd shipped countless couples. and could tell at a glance that something was going on with Mia. He's really good to me. He's my friend. Mia spoke with a red face, and when she thought of Ethan, a gentle expression appeared on her face. Even the corners of her lips lifted slightly. Claire became even more certain. This girl definitely liked him. I'm heading out first. He's probably been waiting a while. Mia hugged the scarf and hurried outside. Claire chuckled and followed her out. At that moment, quite a few girls were standing around downstairs, openly fangirling. Even on the upper floors, plenty of girls were standing along the hallway staring at Ethan. He's so handsome. That clean, handsome face was exactly the type every girl dreamed about. But they were also curious about what kind of girl such a handsome boy was waiting for. Ethan looked calm, but inside he was thrilled. In all his life, this was the first time so many girls had stared at him. Day, Ethan, why are you here? Suddenly, a familiar voice came from behind him. Ethan turned around and saw Lily, staring at him in confusion, waiting for someone. Ethan smiled. Lily frowned slightly. She had to admit, Ethan really was extremely handsome now. But had something happened to his brain? Chloe didn't live in the dorms. So if he was waiting outside the girls' dormitory, could it be? Do you need me to go upstairs and call her for you? No need. She should be coming down soon. Ethan smiled and refused. When Mia came outside, she didn't see Ethan. She only saw a crowd of girls gathered in front of the dormitory for some reason. They seemed to be surrounding someone and were chattering excitedly. That guy is so handsome. He has such a great vibe. He looks so clean and fresh. Seriously. He's exactly my dream guy. Ah, he's so handsome. I want his QQ number. I wonder if he has a girlfriend. Why don't you go ask him? Haha, for him, even if the school bans dating. I'm breaking the rule today. BS. There were too many people to a wive, and Mia wasn't very tall, so she couldn't see Ethan surrounded by the crowd. Still, she felt a little curious. A handsome guy? Could he really be more handsome than Ethan? Mia pictured Ethan's face in her mind. Although she couldn't really appreciate that wild hairstyle he'd had before, it still felt like no one was more handsome than Ethan. She had absolutely no interest in any handsome guy other than Ethan. She stood on tiptoe, looking around for his wild hair. Where's Ethan? Didn't he say he came to pick me up? From inside the crowd, Ethan immediately spotted the little girl standing on tiptoe, looking around. There she is. Lily wasn't surprised when she saw Mia. She smiled, nodded, and left. Silly girl, it's freezing out here. Why did you come outside without a coat? Ethan laughed and scolded her gently, then took off his jacket and walked toward Mia. The girls around him didn't understand what Ethan was doing, but when they followed his gaze, they immediately understood. Is that his girlfriend? She looks so ordinary. She's not good enough for my dream guy. Exactly, she's way too plain. You two are just bitter because you can't have him. The handsome guy likes her. What can you do about it? Stay jealous. Suddenly, Mia felt someone drape a coat over her shoulders. He turned around and saw a boy a head taller than her, looking at her with tenderness. The boy's smile was gentle as he carefully wrapped the puffer jacket around her. His wild, messy hair was gone, replaced by clean, textured bangs beneath his long eyelashes, were eyes filled with warmth and amusement. He was such a gentle and handsome boy. Mia stared at him in a daze. She had never seen a boy this handsome before. Without even realizing it, Ethan had already helped her into the puffer jacket. Silly girl, it's freezing. Why did you come out without a coat? Ethan raised his hand and gently tapped Mia on the forehead. The gesture was incredibly tender. The girls around them immediately burst into excited squeals. Mia finally came back to her senses, and her face instantly turned red, like a perfectly ripe apple, so adorable that it made people want to take a bite. Only then did she realize she had rushed out too quickly and forgotten to put on her coat. Now she was wearing the boy's jacket, and it carried a pleasant lavender scent, along with the warmth unique to a teenage boy. This is for you. Thank you. Ethan took the scarf and immediately realized it had been knitted by hand. You made this for me. Mia's voice was very soft, but her face turned even redder. Ethan gently rubbed Mia's hair, then happily wrapped the scarf around his neck. That simple head pat made the girls around them practically grind their teeth in jealousy. They were overwhelmed with envy toward Mia. Why wouldn't someone this handsome come pat their heads too? The boy and girl surrounded by the crowd, at that moment, seemed like the darlings of the entire world. You gave me a scarf, so I'll give you a present too. Seeing Mia frozen in place, Ethan placed the bunny hat on her head. Because of the movement, the boy was standing very close to her. His warm breath brushed against her face. At that moment, she heard a rapid heartbeat and couldn't tell whether it was hers or his. Mia's mind went completely blank. Her little heart pounded wildly, as though a kitten were scratching at it. He's really so gentle. He's really so gentle. I'll go back and put on my coat. Mia pushed away the increasingly close Ethan and turned to run with a bright red face. This was way too embarrassing. So many people were watching. Don't bother. Let's go. Ethan grabbed Mia's hand and placed a hot water bottle into it. The warmth from the hot water bottle slowly helped Mia regain some composure. She looked at the boy with a red face. I'm not cold. Your scarf is really warm. Ethan smiled and lightly tapped the tip of Mia's nose again, before leading her toward the school gate through the crowd. The girls around them erupted into another round of excited screams. Ah, he's so gentle. I want that too. I want a boyfriend like that too. Chapter 23. Who is this handsome guy? Looking at the boy walking in front of her, Mia began to worry. It was so cold outside. Would he get chilled? What if he caught a cold? Ethan, it's freezing today. You'll easily catch a cold like this. Silly girl, I'll be fine. Ethan glanced at Mia and smiled. But he kept feeling like something wasn't quite right, though he couldn't figure out what it was. It's okay, sweetheart. Such an intimate way of addressing her. How could he say it so naturally? But, I still like it. Mia felt her heart fluttering wildly. The warmth from the hot water bottle helped her stiff, frozen hands gradually regain feeling. Ethan, you're finally back. The moment Ryan saw Ethan, he hurried over, but when he noticed Mia wearing Ethan's jacket, Ryan froze, inwardly cried, Ethan, you fool. You fool? There are going to be lots of pretty girls at the mixer. Keeping your jacket would have been perfect for flirting with them. What? Ethan asked in confusion. Earlier, some people came over asking to buy the hot water bottles. I sold 70 or 80 of them. How much did you sell each one for? Ethan was worried Ryan might suddenly lose his mind and sell them way too cheaply. That would mean losing money instead of making it. I sold each one for $8. This is all the money from those sales. Ryan pulled a stack of bills from his pocket and started counting them. Ethan's mouth twitched. Maybe Fatty wasn't as hopeless as he'd thought. Mia widened her eyes and looked at Ethan in confusion. Aren't we supposed to be going to the social event? Why are we selling hot water bottles here? Ethan wouldn't really be. Ethan, it's $648 total. Ryan looked completely shocked. He hadn't expected it to be this profitable either. After subtracting the cost, they'd already made $348. He suddenly turned around and looked at the hot water bottles hanging from the motorcycle. There were still more than 300 left, at $8 each. They could still make more than $2,400. The thought made him suck in a breath. His mom worked at a supermarket and only made $1,200 a month. Yet their income from just one day could be more than 2 months of her salary. He turned toward Ethan. Nice work. We'll raise the price a little later. Ethan was very satisfied. He took the money from Ryan and counted out $200 for him. This is what I borrowed from you earlier. We'll split the rest tonight. Ethan, aren't we supposed to be attending the social event today? Mia asked in confusion. She had roughly calculated it just now, and Ethan's income for just one day was almost as much as her family made in an entire year. That was an enormous amount of money. She had never seen so much in her life. Silly girl, I'm going to teach you a proper lesson today. Ethan lightly tapped the tip of Mia's nose again, his face full of warmth. The three got onto the motorcycle. This time, Ryan was driving. Ethan sat behind him. And Mia sat behind Ethan. Mia didn't dare sit too close to Ethan, so she held the hot water bottle against herself and lightly gripped the corner of Ethan's clothes. Her face was unbelievably red. In all her life, she had never been this close to someone before. Her mind was a complete mess. She secretly glanced at the back of the boy's handsome head. Is this really okay? But if we don't ride like this, we'll definitely be late. Ethan, Mia, hold on tight. I'm taking off," Ryan called out after 2 minutes. Wait, Ethan stopped him, and suddenly grabbed Mia's little hand. Ethan, what are you doing? Mia panicked. She tried to pull her hand free from Ethan's grip, but before she could react, Ethan had already pulled her arms firmly around his waist. "If you only hold my clothes, you could fall off. And if you end up in the hospital, I'm not going to stay there with you." Noticing Mia's reaction, Ethan smiled. When Mia heard that, she didn't dare let go, and could only wrap her arms tightly around Ethan's waist. Pressing her face against his back, a faint, clean scent from the boy reached her nose. It smelled wonderful. She couldn't tell whether it was the boy's warmth or her own embarrassment, but her face felt unbearably hot. Feeling the warmth against his back, and hearing her rapid heartbeat, Ethan smiled. "Fatty, we're good now. Let's go." Ryan turned around and saw the scene, and the corner of his mouth twitched. This was obviously taking advantage of the poor girl. He wanted something like that too. Meanwhile, in the company office, Robert was holding a meeting about today's social event, with only 40 minutes left before it began. He finally gave his concluding remarks. "This matchmaking event is very important. I hope everyone takes it seriously." "Yes, boss." "All right." Meeting adjourned. Everyone quickly left and went off to handle their respective tasks. Robert's assistant, Daniel, remained standing in front of him, looking confused. "Boss, the main participants in this matchmaking event are all elderly people. Will doing all of this really help us?" Robert burst out laughing and patted Daniel on the shoulder. "Daniel, this is exactly what you don't understand yet. Although the people attending this matchmaking event are elderly, have you thought about one thing? These elderly people are all living alone, and their children are busy working, so naturally they feel lonely sometimes. If we organize a matchmaking event like this, there will definitely be plenty of elderly people attending. Wouldn't the organizer be able to benefit from that? Besides, the elderly people attending all have children here in Riverside with a certain level of status and influence. If I help solve their parents' loneliness problem and save them a lot of time and energy, won't they feel grateful to me?" Daniel immediately understood. Sure enough, he'd been thinking about it too simply. "Daniel, you still have a lot to learn. Work hard, and you'll accomplish something someday." "Yes, boss." Robert nodded in satisfaction. "All right. Go to the venue and host the event first. By the way, my daughter will be bringing some classmates over later. Find somewhere for them to hang out, and don't let them disturb the elderly guests." Although Robert had agreed to his daughter's request, he still felt that having a few teenagers there was a little inappropriate. "Yes, boss." Just as Robert breathed a sigh of relief, the company manager hurried into the room. "Boss, we've got a problem. The weather outside is changing. It looks like it's going to snow." "What?" Robert was startled. He walked over to the window, and his expression immediately darkened. Snowflakes were already drifting down outside. In the plaza, the elderly men and women attending the matchmaking event were playing games organized by the hosts, and the atmosphere was lively. Suddenly, a gust of freezing wind swept through. Several frail elderly women couldn't help shivering. "It's freezing. Why is it snowing? Didn't the weather forecast say it wouldn't snow today? King, it's so cold. The temperature is dropping way too fast. Where are the organizers? Why haven't they come out to handle this? Are they trying to freeze us to death?" The elderly guests were already advanced in age, and the sudden cold made them all start shivering. They looked around the plaza for the organizers, while curses and complaints sounded from time to time. At the entrance to the plaza, Daisy blew warm air onto her hands and rubbed them together while shivering. "That's strange. Why is it snowing?" Looking at the snowflakes falling from the sky, Daisy became a little worried. What if Ethan and the others didn't come because of the snow? Then she'd have frozen out here for nothing. She waited for a while, before finally seeing Ryan and the other two arrive on the motorcycle. After getting a clear look at the faces on the bike, Daisy was confused. She recognized Mia and Ryan, along with an incredibly handsome guy. "What's going on? Is that bastard Ethan not coming?" "Daisy, we're here." Ryan and the other two got off the motorcycle and walked toward her. "Why, you're Ethan?" "Yes, it's me. What's wrong?" Ethan and Ryan carried more than 300 hot water bottles toward the plaza. Daisy was completely dumbfounded, rubbed her eyes. What was going on? How had Ethan suddenly changed this much? Why was he so handsome? He looked even better than the most handsome guy at school. No, she had to be dreaming. Either that, or her eyes were playing tricks on her. She pinched her arm in disbelief, and the pain confirmed that she wasn't dreaming. Daisy, what's wrong? Mia saw Daisy staring blankly, while repeatedly pinching her own arm, and asked worriedly, "Is this guy really Ethan?" Daisy looked at Mia expectantly. Mia nodded. "Yeah, what's wrong?" Why would she even ask that? Daisy had only spoken halfway, when the rest of her words suddenly got stuck in her throat, because she noticed that Mia was wearing a white men's puffer jacket and a bunny hat. A bold thought suddenly appeared in Daisy's mind. Could the jacket Mia was wearing belong to Ethan? She glanced at Ethan and saw that the guy was wearing only a white sweater. Boom. Something seemed to explode inside her head. Maya, are you and Ethan officially together now? Mia froze and looked at Daisy in confusion. Together? What kind of relationship? That kind of relationship? What kind? Mia still completely confused. Daisy wanted to pry open her head and see what was going on inside. That jacket you're wearing belongs to Ethan, right? Yeah. He came to pick me up earlier, and I rushed out so quickly that I forgot my coat. Ethan was worried I'd catch a cold, so he gave me his. Mia looked a little embarrassed. If it weren't for her, Ethan wouldn't be standing in weather this cold, wearing only a white sweater. You two, stop standing over there. Come help us. Just as Daisy was about to ask more questions, Ethan put all the hot water bottles on the ground, wiped the sweat from his forehead, and called out to them. What is it? What do you need us to do? Daisy glared at Ethan and asked irritably, Chapter 24, A Huge Harvest. You and Mia stay here. If anyone comes over to buy one, sell them for $8 each. Daisy and Mia walked over to Ethan, and Daisy gave him an annoyed glare. Then, what are you and Fatty doing? Daisy looked at the hundreds of hot water bottles on the ground and frowned slightly. Ethan glanced toward the elderly people complaining and cursing in the distance, then smiled mysteriously. We're going to find customers, of course. Me. Customers? Daisy looked confused. Aren't those people here for the matchmaking event? Mia instantly understood what Ethan meant. And obediently nodded. Okay. Daisy and I will stay here and watch them. My little deskmate really is smart. What do you mean, my? The moment Daisy heard that, she looked ready to transform into an angry little wildcat. Mia blushed and tugged on Daisy's arm. Daisy. Wow, look at you, choosing a guy over your friend already. Daisy glanced at Ethan, then at the blushing Mia, and grumbled irritably. Mia secretly glanced at Ethan, and when she realized he was looking at her too, she hurriedly lowered her head. Ryan stood nearby looking completely dejected. There were none of the handsome guys and pretty girls he'd imagined, only a bunch of elderly men and women. His beautiful romantic encounter had vanished before it even began. Looking at the hot water bottles on the ground, he gave Ethan a resentful look. This guy must have known, which was why he prepared so many hot water bottles. Stop spacing out. Go find customers. We can make more than 2,000 today. The moment Ryan heard they could make that much, all the disappointment in his heart instantly disappeared, and he happily went off to sell hot water bottles. Boss, I've checked everywhere nearby. There isn't an indoor venue large enough. Manager David looked extremely anxious. Robert watched the elderly guests in the plaza preparing to leave, and became anxious too. This was profit he could practically see slipping away. Keep looking. Today's matchmaking event is extremely important. I'll go calm the elderly guests down. Oh, right. First, find some hot water bottles or hand warmers. Yes, boss. You organizers really don't think about us at all. The weather is this cold, and you didn't prepare anything. Exactly. From now on, any event you people organize, I'm never coming again. And when I get home, I'll make sure everyone hears about this. Daniel looked at the group of furious elderly men and women in front of him and felt like he was about to collapse. These people were practically untouchable. He couldn't argue with them and could only do his best to calm them down. Suddenly, he spotted a teenager walking over with several hot water bottles and immediately headed toward him. Meanwhile, Ethan carried several hot water bottles over to an elderly man. Sir, would you like a hot water bottle? The old man turned and glanced at Ethan, then replied irritably, What would I need a hot water bottle for? It's freezing out here. Who even feels like staying outside? Ethan wasn't annoyed. Instead, he smiled. Sir, I'm sure there's a lovely lady here who's caught your eye, right? If you give her a hot water bottle right now, don't you think? She'd be deeply touched. The old man froze when he heard that, and realized Ethan actually had a point. Mrs. Williams was the beauty of the nursing home, and countless old men were pursuing her. If he gave her a hot water bottle right now, he glanced at the hot water bottle in Ethan's hand, filled with steaming hot water, then asked, Young man, how much is one? $8. That's pretty expensive. The old man looked a little pained. $8 for one hot water bottle really wasn't cheap. Following the old man's gaze, Ethan spotted an elderly woman and immediately smiled, because several other old men were standing around her, while the elderly woman herself was shivering from the cold. Sir, look at how many other gentlemen are standing around that lady. If you give her a hot water bottle right now, do you think any of those guys would still be your competition? Spend $8 and you can beat your romantic rivals. Tell me, isn't that $8 worth it? Ethan gave him a smile as if he were genuinely looking out for him. The old man glanced at his several competitors and gritted his teeth. Fine, give me 2. Coming right up. The old man took the hot water bottles and happily went over to the elderly woman. Sure enough, after he gave the hot water bottle to her, the elderly woman stopped paying attention to the other old men when the others saw what had happened. They all rushed over to Ethan to buy hot water bottles. Ethan was grinning so widely that his smile nearly reached his ears. What are you doing? Don't you know? Our company rented out this entire place. Suddenly, Daniel rushed over to Ethan and grabbed his wrist. Ethan looked at the man and frowned. Was there something wrong with this guy's head? Ethan was practically helping their event by selling these hot water bottles. Who said he wasn't allowed to sell things here? Ethan looked up at Daniel. This place belongs to our company. Before Daniel could finish, he was interrupted. Robert had, somehow, already walked over to them. Daniel let go of the young man. But, Daniel glanced at Robert, and seeing his stern expression, released Ethan's wrist. Young man, I'm sorry about that. Robert apologized very politely. It's fine. I'll get back to work then. Ethan casually waved his hand and walked away on his own. Boss, that kid is selling things here. Isn't that disrespecting us? We rented this entire place, Daniel said while watching Ethan walk away. Daniel, why can't you see what's happening? Look, because of that kid, all these elderly people have become much more enthusiastic. Robert pointed toward the elderly men and women who had become lively again, even some elderly men and women who hadn't known how to start a conversation with each other, were using the excuse of giving away hot water bottles to become acquainted because of a few hot water bottles. The entire purpose of today's event had been achieved. Boss, I was wrong. Daniel suddenly understood this and looked ashamed. Learn more from situations like this in the future. Half an hour later, Ethan counted the money they'd made. It came to a total of $2,560. He took out $300 and divided it among Daisy, Mia, and Ryan. This is your pay. I can't take it. I didn't really help with anything. Mia hurriedly waved her hands and refused. Be good and listen to me. Take it, or I won't bring you along next time. Ethan took Mia's warm little hand and placed $100 into it. Fatty and Daisy didn't stand on ceremony, especially Daisy. $100 wasn't a huge amount of money to her. Ryan, on the other hand, was ecstatic. In less than 2 hours, he had earned as much as his mom made in 2 days. Ethan, I freaking love you. Ryan stuffed the money into his pocket and excitedly tried to hug Ethan. Get away from me. Ethan dodged him in disgust, but then opened his arms toward Mia. Little deskmate, how about giving me a hug? And no. Mia's face instantly turned red. She clutched the money, not knowing what to do. He's so direct. How can he say something like that? But I kind of want to hug him too. He's really amazing. Get lost. You're a grown boy asking a girl for a hug. Aren't you embarrassed? Just then, Daisy stepped in front of Mia and glared angrily at Ethan. I was just happy. Ethan awkwardly pulled his arms back. If you're happy, go hug Fatty. I don't want a fickle man like you. I hate you. Ethan's mouth twitched. Is that even how you're supposed to use the word fickle? On the other side of the plaza, Chloe had been bored at home, so she came to the plaza after Noah invited her. Among the crowd, Chloe stood out like the center of attention. making even Bella look noticeably less dazzling beside her. After all, Chloe was a year older, and more mature in every way. Bella pouted, and deliberately refused to look at Chloe. She had clearly only invited Noah. Yet this woman had come too. Don't think Noah likes you just because he's looking at you. Noah definitely likes me the most. I'm way cuter than you. Seeing Noah's eyes, practically glued to Chloe. The petite girl stomped her feet angrily. Chloe, look, it's snowing. It's beautiful. Seeing Chloe looking unhappy, Noah hurriedly pointed toward the falling snowflakes. Yeah, even the weather forecast said it wouldn't snow today. Yet now it's snowing. It must know our Chloe was bored after coming outside. So it started snowing. Just to cheer her up, another girl, Hannah, hurriedly chimed in. I remember an old poem that goes something like this. If we stand beneath the same snow today, then in this lifetime, it's almost like growing old together. Noah watched Chloe from the corner of his eye. He wondered whether she could understand his confession. He had originally planned to save this confession for the first snowfall, but unexpectedly, even the heavens seemed to favor him. And it snowed today. Noah was ecstatic, so he used the opportunity to confess, but Chloe acted as though she hadn't heard him. Her gaze suddenly landed on a very familiar face not far away. Ethan? Why would he be here? I must be seeing things. When did he change his hairstyle? I must have mistaken someone who looks like him for Ethan, but that guy really does look like him. Chloe remembered what Ethan had said that day and suddenly felt deeply wronged. She seemed to have fallen for that guy. But, Chloe, what's wrong? Noah noticed the change in Chloe's expression and hurriedly asked. Chloe ignored him and simply stared quietly ahead. She was curious just how much she liked Ethan, to the point that she was apparently hallucinating him. Why is Ryan here? Noah followed Chloe's gaze and immediately spotted Ryan, looking confused. That guy is so handsome. Who is he? I'm going to ask for his QQ number. Two of Bella's friends, Claire and Zoe, exclaimed excitedly. Bella looked over too, and frowned slightly. Okay, he's maybe a tiny bit handsome, but he's nowhere near as handsome as Noah. Noah is the most handsome man in the world. Chapter 25, Ultimate Simp. Why are you screaming like that? Why does that guy look a little familiar? Noah narrowed his eyes. Suddenly, he seemed to realize something, and glanced at Chloe beside him. Chloe, it's snowing, and it's getting colder. Why don't we go somewhere else? No way. I'm going to ask for his QQ number. Claire spoke first, jogged over. Wait for me. I'm coming too. Zoe happily followed after her. Noah was just about to stop them, when Chloe followed as well. Damn it. I finally got rid of one, Ethan, and now another guy shows up. That boy really was handsome. Even Noah, another guy, had to admit it. Let alone these teenage girls whose hearts were just beginning to flutter. Forget it. Let's go over too. Noah sighed helplessly. Things had developed beyond what he'd expected, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. Noah, should we teach that guy a lesson? Hannah pointed toward the handsome boy and whispered. Noah helplessly shook his head. Although that guy was handsome, he believed Chloe would definitely choose him in the end. After all, his grades were excellent, and any intelligent person would know not to give up on someone with such potential. Once he got into a good university, his future would be bright. Chloe's grades were excellent too, but in the end, she was still just a girl. Her future would ultimately be marriage, followed by taking care of her husband and children. That was when he could truly make use of his abilities and earn enough money to support them. Miss, the boss wants you to come over for a moment. Okay, Daisy was called over by one of Robert's managers. Let's go. Dinner's on me today. With weather this cold, we definitely need hot pot. Ethan waved his hand grandly, looking extremely happy. Ethan, you're the best. Ryan cheered excitedly. Little deskmate, why aren't you saying anything? Ethan noticed that Mia had been quiet and became a little worried. Maybe I shouldn't go. You've already helped me so much. Little deskmate, if you keep acting like this, I'm gonna get mad. We're good friends, aren't we? Ethan crouched down slightly, placed both hands on the girl's shoulders, and leaned his face close to Mia's. Payas! Mia immediately panicked. The boy's warm breath brushed across her cheeks. His handsome features were clearly visible from this close. The girl's face turned red, and she lowered her head. Her heart, which had finally calmed down, once again felt as though a kitten were scratching at it. He's so close. Even his breath feels so gentle. After a moment, the girl shyly nodded. That's right, we're good friends. As long as you're by my side. You'll be my little princess. Ethan lightly tapped the tip of the girl's nose. His gentle, ambiguous words left Mia standing there, staring blankly at him. Little princess? That's so cheesy and intimate. But why does my heart feel so warm? Mia looked at the snow falling harder from the sky and felt something she'd never experienced before. Yeah, this winter suddenly didn't seem so cold anymore. Ryan, standing nearby, curled his lips. Seriously, I'm still standing right here. Can you two tone it down a little? You're making this really awkward for me. But when he realized the two of them were completely ignoring him, he simply turned away and stopped looking. Hey, can I have your QQ number? I'd like to be friends with you. Me too. Scare and Zoe looked at Ethan with obvious teenage infatuation. Ethan instinctively placed a hand on Mia's shoulder and smiled at the two girls. Sorry, but as you can see, disappointment appeared on both girls' faces. But then their eyes landed on Mia. Her bangs were tucked beneath the hat, revealing delicate features and fair skin. Her large, watery eyes shimmered with a pure, adorably innocent look, giving her a quiet, untouched by the world charm. Standing beside the handsome boy, she actually looked very well matched with him. Sigh. What a shame. Claire gritted her teeth. Such a handsome guy. And he wasn't her boyfriend. What a waste. Zoe suddenly grabbed Mia's hand and said seriously, hey, I'm officially notifying you that you're now my rival. I've got my eye on your boyfriend. Mia was dumbfounded. What was all this? When did she get a boyfriend? Instinctively, she looked up at Ethan, and her face instantly turned bright red. The boy was looking at her gently, his smile like the warm sunshine of early spring. Soft and comforting. They really do look perfect together. It's like a domineering CEO and his adorable little wife. Claire noticed it too, and turned green with envy. Mia's face grew even redder. She was just about to explain when someone interrupted her. Ethan, Mia looked up and saw Chloe and the others walking toward them. She instinctively tried to hide behind Ethan, but the strength of his hand on her shoulder made her abandon the idea. She glanced at the boy beside her and remembered what he'd told her the first time they met. It's okay, I'm here. Chloe looked at Ethan and noticed his hand resting on Mia's shoulder. A sharp pain immediately stabbed through her heart. Didn't you used to like me so much? Why are you doing this? She desperately wanted to ask him, but in the end, she held herself back. Why do you keep haunting us? How do we run into you everywhere? Noah walked over to Chloe's side too, when he finally saw clearly that the ridiculously handsome boy in front of him was actually Ethan. He found it difficult to accept. After all, Ethan used to have that wild afro and dressed in ridiculous punk clothes that were hard to look at. But now, ultimate simp, you're the one haunting us. Wherever we go, you follow. The moment Ryan saw Noah, his temper flared up. Who the hell are you calling an ultimate simp? Noah got angry too, although he had no idea what ultimate simp actually meant. Anything coming out of Fatty's mouth definitely wasn't a compliment. I'm talking about you. What about it? You don't like it? Want to throw a few punches? Ryan looked at Noah provocatively. If you don't dare, then shut your mouth. Stop yapping here every single day. You're annoying as hell. Seeing Noah lose the exchange, Bella immediately stepped in front of him. You're so uncivilized. Noah is a refined and noble person. He would never lower himself to argue. With an uncultured human-shaped gorilla like you, my Noah is the best. Ryan's mouth twitched. Goosebumps rose all over his body. The girl's words made him feel sick. For a moment, he began to wonder how this world could possibly contain someone this nauseating. A grown man still needed some little girl to protect him. Ultimate simp, I guess that's all you're capable of. If Chloe ever falls for trash like you, I'll wash my hair while standing on my head. Noah, don't be angry. He's only jealous because you have me protecting you. Then be good. Noah's face turned livid. Chloe ignored the argument beside her and simply looked calmly at Ethan. What are you doing here? Dagny's eyes. Before Ethan could answer, Ryan jumped in first. Making money, obviously. We're ambitious young men with bright plans for our futures. You two pieces of trash think you can make money. Keep dreaming. Noah burst out laughing. Ryan had embarrassed him earlier, and he had to regain some face. Haha, even if you're making up excuses. At least come up with something believable. Hannah laughed too. Some people really are incapable of understanding anything beyond their own little world. Ethan didn't bother explaining. He didn't want to waste too much time on these people. All he wanted now was to take his little deskmate to eat a steaming pot of lamb hot pot. Lamb hot pot was perfect for a snowy day like this. Ethan made $3,200 selling hot water bottles today. This is the pay he just gave me. Mia looked at Noah and the others, then took out the $100. Ethan had just given her. The surroundings instantly fell silent. $3,200 was a huge amount of money. Most people's monthly salary was only around $1,200 or $1,300. Yet Ethan had somehow earned that much in a single day. That's impossible. You must be lying. When Noah and the others saw the stack of small bills in Mia's hand, none of them could laugh anymore. They knew roughly what Mia's family situation was like. There was no way she could normally have that much money. Yet she was holding bills worth $5 and $10 each. Mia, even if you want to help Ethan, you should at least come up with a believable excuse. Everyone knows about your family situation. For all we know, that could be living expenses your family sent you. The mocking smile still remained on Noah's face. It's true, Mia was about to explain, when a warm hand gently rubbed her head. It's okay, I've got this. She looked up, and once again saw Ethan's warm smile. My little deskmate isn't lying. I made more than $3,000 selling hot water bottles today. Impossible. Ethan, you're definitely lying. My dad only makes $1,500 a month. How could you possibly earn that much in just one day? Hannah looked completely unconvinced. You said it yourself. That's your dad, not me, Ethan sneered, then pulled all the money from both of his pockets. When everyone saw the thick stack of bills in Ethan's hands, Noah and the others stared at the money with envy and fell silent. Even though most of the bills were only $5, $10, or $1, they could still tell. There had to be at least $2,000 there. Believe me now, Ethan left them with those words, then walked away with Mia and Ryan. Ethan, my grandma always told me never to show people how much money you have. Mia looked at Ethan worriedly. More than $2,000 was a huge amount of money. Silly girl, it's fine. Ethan gently rubbed Mia's head again. He could tolerate people mocking and insulting him. He wasn't the old Ethan anymore. But if these people dared mock Mia, that was something he absolutely couldn't tolerate. Besides, he still had plans for this money. Chloe watched Ethan's retreating figure and lightly bit her lip. Ethan had changed. He was no longer the same Ethan, who used to constantly chase after her. Now, he looked much more mature. She regretted it. Chapter 26. In the company office. Robert looked at Daisy. Daisy, what's that friend of yours called? Daisy glanced at her dad, feeling that something was a little strange. Ethan. Why? Oh, it's nothing. Knight, I'm planning to treat you kids to dinner, as a way of showing my gratitude. If it hadn't been for your friend today, this matchmaking event would have been a disaster. Oh, that's easy then. Daisy stood up, ready to go find Ethan and the others. I'll have Daniel invite them. You stay here and tell me more about Ethan. Robert smiled. There's nothing particularly special about him. I don't think there's much to say. Daisy looked at Robert suspiciously. Girl, you're still too young, just from what happened today. I can tell your friend isn't simple at all. Hearing Robert say that, Daisy became curious too. With weather like this, who would have thought to sell hot water bottles here? Even the weather forecast said it wouldn't snow today. Dad, what makes him so special? Tell me. Looking at his daughter's expectant expression, Robert smiled. What happened today might look like he simply got lucky, but in business, timing is extremely important. Take what happened today as an example. Everyone believed it wouldn't snow, but your friend thought differently. That means he has his own judgment and doesn't blindly follow the crowd. Second, he was able to seize the opportunity and sell hot water bottles. He recognized the change in market demand and satisfied the customer's needs, while using the lowest possible cost to earn the highest possible profit. I have to admit, for a high school senior to already think like that is impressive. Listening to Robert's explanation, Daisy frowned slightly. Profit. Q's maximization. I don't think he actually made that much. Silly girl, those hot water bottles are almost obsolete. The wholesale price is only $2 or $3 each, and the hot water probably costs no more than $50 for more than 300 hot water bottles plus the hot water. His total cost couldn't have exceeded $300. He sold each one for $8 and sold more than 300 of them. Do you know how much profit he made? $2,560, Daisy answered. Right. After subtracting the cost and the 300, he paid you $3. He still made more than $1,900 in pure profit. And that's not even the most important part. This time, he also made me owe him a favor. Think carefully about that. Do you still think he isn't impressive? Robert looked at his daughter as he slowly spoke. Daisy's eyes widened, full of disbelief. Was this really the same guy she knew? The infamous bad student everyone at school talked about. That seemed impossible. 2 minutes later, Daisy spoke. But Dad, you have no idea how hopeless he used to be. Daisy told Robert everything she knew about Ethan, including everything that had happened recently. A prodigal son who turns himself around is worth more than gold. That kid is going to be interesting in the future. Build a good relationship with him. It'll definitely help you someday. After a moment of silence, Robert looked at his daughter and slowly spoke. He wasn't expecting Ethan to marry his daughter someday. He simply hoped that if Ethan became successful in the future, he might be willing to help Daisy when she truly needed it. Robert understood his daughter's personality far too well. The only thing he could do was invest in her future as much as possible and help her make a few good friends. Mr. Ethan, please wait. Ethan and the other two had just been about to leave the plaza when they stopped and turned toward Daniel, who had chased after them. Daniel, is there something else? Ethan looked at him curiously. Mr. Ethan, I'm really sorry about what happened earlier. Daniel looked at Ethan apologetically. Ethan smiled and waved his hand, clearly not taking it to heart. It was nothing. Mr. Ethan, our boss would like to invite you and your friends to dinner. Do you have time? Ethan immediately smiled when he heard that. He could roughly guess why Robert wanted to invite him to dinner. Daniel's voice wasn't loud, but it carried clearly. So Chloe and the others heard every word. When Noah and the others heard that, they immediately looked at Ethan expectantly. After all, they technically counted as Ethan's friends too. Even Ethan naturally noticed the looks Noah and the others were giving him, and immediately smiled. Then will gladly accept. With that, he brought Mia, Ryan, and Daniel with him. What's so impressive about that? It's just one meal. Come on, I'll treat you guys today. Noah snorted and looked toward Chloe. You guys go eat. I'm heading home. Chloe left them with those words and walked away without looking back. Chloe, everyone's already here today. Let's just go eat together. The moment Noah saw Chloe leaving, he hurriedly called after her. I said I'm not going. Didn't you hear me? Chloe replied irritably and kept walking without looking back. Noah offered to treat her to dinner, and she doesn't even appreciate it. She's awful. Bella clung to Noah's arm, glared angrily at Chloe's retreating figure. A little over 10 minutes later, inside a private room at a luxurious restaurant, Robert looked at Ethan and smiled. Ethan, I really have to thank you for today. Otherwise, I would have suffered a huge loss. Uncle Robert, you're too polite. I should be thanking you for giving me a place to do business. Otherwise, I wouldn't have made so much money either. Ethan replied politely with a smile. While speaking, he didn't forget to put more food into Mia's bowl. Naturally, Robert noticed everything. Mia looked at the food in her bowl, then glanced at Ethan. When she noticed Robert watching them, her face turned red. This is so embarrassing. He's watching us like that. But all this food tastes so good. Ethan is amazing. He can even talk so naturally with Daisy's dad. Mayan and Daisy simply kept their heads down and focused on eating. They couldn't really understand the conversation between Robert and Ethan, even though the two seemed to be getting along very well. Something about it still felt strange to them. Uncle Robert, Ethan, you guys keep eating. I'm going to use the restroom. Ryan suddenly spoke up. Daisy, show Ryan where it is. Okay. After Ryan and Daisy left, only Mia, Ethan, and Robert remained in the room. Ethan, this is a small token of my appreciation. I hope you won't think it's too little. Robert took out a red envelope and handed it to Ethan. Ethan glanced at the envelope. Judging from its thickness, there had to be $10,000 inside. $10,000 was no small amount in this era. For Robert to offer $10,000 showed just how sincere he was. Uncle Robert, I can't accept this money. I'm already very grateful that you're treating us to dinner today. Ethan refused. Robert laughed heartily and didn't mind at all. He put the red envelope away. All right, if you ever need my help in the future, just come find me. Fatty? I suddenly realized that question you asked me the other day. I think I finally have an answer. In the restaurant hallway, Daisy suddenly spoke. What question? Ryan froze and looked at Daisy in surprise. The one where you asked me whether Chloe was good enough for Ethan. After what happened today, I realized she isn't. Ryan froze, but quickly burst out laughing. At least you've still got a brain. Fatty, are you asking for a beating? After everyone finished eating, Ethan, Mia, and Ryan said goodbye to Daisy. Ethan, let's go pull an all-nighter at the internet cafe. Ryan let out a burp and looked at Ethan expectantly. No, Ethan rejected him without even thinking. Come on, you're seriously not going to play a few games in weather like this. Ryan refused to give up. I'm going shopping with my little deskmate. Shopping? Mia lifted her head. A few playful snowflakes landed on her eyelashes. Yeah, we're going shopping. Ethan gently breathed warm air into his hands and shrank his neck. Here, take the motorcycle key. Ride slowly. Ethan tossed the key to Ryan, then grabbed Mia by the wrist and walked away without looking back. Ryan stood frozen in the snow, staring blankly at the two walking away together. Are these two out of their minds? It's snowing this hard and they're still going shopping. Shaking his head, Ryan rode the motorcycle home. Because of the snow, Riverside's shopping district wasn't very crowded. Ethan and Mia walked side by side at an unhurried pace. The snowfall had already weakened considerably, but even so, snowflakes still gradually turned Ethan's hair white. The two walked shoulder to shoulder, looking exactly like a couple deeply in love. Ethan glanced at Mia walking beside him and couldn't have been happier. This counted as their first date, right? Meanwhile, Mia was unbelievably nervous. It was the first time in her life she'd ever gone out with someone, and it was with a boy. The whole feeling was strange, and Ethan wasn't wearing a coat. What if he froze, if they kept going like this? Mia began thinking about whether she'd find an excuse to return to school, or go somewhere warm and sheltered from the wind. Either way, they couldn't keep staying outside. Ethan wouldn't be able to handle it. She didn't notice that the boy beside her had suddenly stopped. Only when she felt a tug on her arm did she finally come back to her senses. She saw Ethan standing beside a street stall, covered with fluffy hats, scarves, gloves, and other winter accessories. Everything looked incredibly warm, and Ethan was holding a pink and white scarf and measuring it against her from a distance. A warm smile rested on his handsome face. Suddenly, Ethan bent down and wrapped the pink and white scarf around her neck. Mia's mind instantly went completely blank. He's so close. I can even feel his breath. Her face turned bright red, and trying to break the awkward atmosphere, she blurted out, I'll do it myself. No, let me help you. Ethan lightly tapped the tip of Mia's nose and gave her a gentle smile. Mia's mind went blank again. Ethan's cold fingers brushed across her neck, making her shiver involuntarily, which made Ethan laugh. I'll be careful. I won't force you. Chapter 27, You two are such a loving couple. Mia's body suddenly trembled as a strange sensation rose from deep inside her and swept through her entire body. Her mind once again went completely blank. What is Ethan doing? How can he dare? How can he just touch my neck so casually? Her face burned, and even her ears began turning red. Ethan looked at Mia and suddenly laughed. Little deskmate, what's wrong? Why did you suddenly get so shy? Still, he had to admit, she looked even cuter wearing the hat and scarf. His little deskmate was already adorable, and now her head and neck were wrapped in the pink and white scarf and matching hat, leaving only her large eyes exposed, which made her look even more adorable. Ethan turned around again, picked up a matching pair of warm gloves, and put them on her. After finishing everything, Ethan carefully looked her over. He had to admit, it suited her perfectly. The shop owner had been warming himself inside, and had noticed everything long ago. The only reason he hadn't come out was because he was afraid of disturbing them. When he heard Ethan call him, he walked out with a cheerful smile. Young man, you've got excellent taste. Your girlfriend looks great wearing these. She looks even cuter now. Mia had just recovered when she heard that, and hurriedly explained, no, I'm not his girlfriend. But before she could finish, she heard Ethan laugh. I think so too. Mia stared at him in shock and looked up at Ethan. What does he mean? Does he mean I look cuter? And why isn't he explaining? We're not boyfriend and girlfriend. There aren't many customers today anyway. So I'll give you a discount. $50. Just recommend my stall to others later. A handsome young couple like you two standing here is basically free advertising. When it snows, young couples love sneaking out on dates because they think it's romantic. Tea? Yeah. Quite a few couples were already gathering around. Sir, give my girlfriend a set too. Me too. Sure. Just wait a moment. The owner's excited laughter pulled Mia back to reality. He tugged on Ethan's clothes and shook her head. Ethan, it's too expensive. Don't buy it. But Ethan had already taken out the money and handed it to the owner. It's fine. You knitted me a scarf. So I'm giving you a set too. It really suits you. But I gave you the scarf to thank you for helping me before. We're good friends. So naturally, we should exchange gifts. I can't accept your present without giving you something in return. Ethan smiled and lightly tapped Mia's nose. Right then. In a few days, I'll knit you a pair of gloves and a hat too. Looking at the scarf around his neck, Ethan suddenly smiled. Then I want them in black. Black would match white perfectly. Wouldn't that almost make them couple outfits? Suddenly, Mia thought of something and hurriedly said, but winter is almost over. It doesn't matter. There's always next winter. Day 2, and the winter after that, and the one after that too. We have a long life ahead of us. So we'll definitely get to use them. Mia froze and looked up at Ethan. Something about that sounded a little strange. Yet somehow it also sounded completely reasonable. Wait, he said, a lifetime. Does that mean he wants to spend his whole life with me? Ethan wants to stay with me forever. What am I thinking? We're not even boyfriend and girlfriend yet. Silly girl, let's head back. Ethan lightly tapped Mia's little nose, which had turned red from the cold. Okay. Mia suddenly came back to her senses. On the way back, Mia's thoughts were a complete mess. He kept thinking about how spending a lifetime together didn't actually sound so bad. After all, when it came to an entire lifetime, who could really say what would happen? Go back and get some rest early. It's already getting late. After saying goodbye to Ethan, Mia returned to the dorm feeling nervous. It was already so late. Wav. She wondered whether her roommates were asleep. Would she disturb them if she went inside? She carefully pushed open the dorm room door and saw only Claire inside. Although the dorm room had 4 beds, there weren't many boarding students, so only Mia and Claire lived in the room. Mia was usually far too introverted, so Claire often went to other dorm rooms to chat. But today, she'd seen her shy little roommate actually go out with a campus heartthrob level guy.